This page is the front cover of the magazine and highlights the game Pokémon Snap as the main feature, showing Pikachu prominently in the center with gameplay screenshots around him. It also mentions a special feature on The Legend of Zelda and Fire Emblem. The cover promotes a special signed poster by Mr. Miyamoto and a Pokémon 3rd anniversary sticker bonus. Other games mentioned on the cover include Harvest Moon 2, Super Smash Bros., Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness, and Power Pro 6. There is also a section called Dorytech Hall of Fame, with a centerfold supplement special. The cover price is listed as 490 yen, and the issue is dated April 1999. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game 64 Uzumo 2, a sumo wrestling game. The advert highlights that the game is even more interesting, and that guy has returned, implying a popular character or feature is back. The text also mentions aiming for Yokozuna, Grand Champion rank, and that original wrestlers can be created, with events also being upgraded. The advertisement is promoting a special campaign running from March 19th to April 30th to commemorate the release of 64 Uzumo 2, offering special presents to customers who purchase the game. Prizes include a tour of the bottom-up development studio and Tokyo Disneyland for 10 pairs of 20 people, a Chunko Nabe hotpot set for 10 people, and a 64 Uzumo Banzuke ranking chart for 30 people, and original 64 Uzumo 2 stickers for 100 people. This page promotes the 3rd annual Computer Entertainment Software Academy Awards, encouraging readers to vote for their favorite games released in 1998. By voting, people could win prizes like a trip to Hollywood, a notebook PC, an MD Walkman, Nintendo 64, PlayStation, Dreamcast, Game Boy Color, WonderSwan, Neo Geo Pocket, hotel stays, and game merchandise. A list of 50 nominated games is presented, which includes several N64 titles, such as F-Zero X, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Pokémon Stadium, and Pokémon Stadium 2. The voting period is from February 19th to March 19th, 1999, and the winners would be announced on April 2nd, 1999, at the Tokyo Game Show. You could vote by sending in a postcard or via the CESA website. This page is an advertisement for The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, on Nintendo 64. It promotes the game's release in stores on November 21st for 6,800 yen, highlighting it as a 3D action RPG for one player. The ad also mentions Rumble Pack compatibility and backup functionality, alongside featuring the Nintendo 64 logo and Nintendo's website. The tagline states, "There is emotion that can only be experienced in a game." This page from the Flower Bud Times spring issue seems to be all about the game Harvest Moon 64. There's a cartoon strip about enjoying the 3D stick controller playing games, specifically referencing buying and enjoying Harvest Moon 64, which is called Past Your Story 2 here. There's a section congratulating someone on their first win, possibly in a horse race within the game. Other sections detail in-game events like the Flower Festival Convenience and the Summer Vegetable Festival in September, where players can show off their produce. There are also news-like snippets from Flowerbud Village, including a midnight bombardment disturbance at the tool shop, and happy news about a calf safely delivered at Green Pasture Farm. Finally, there's a clear advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game Ranch Story 2, which is Harvest Moon 64 in English, stating it's currently on sale for 6,800 yen. The April 1999 issue of the magazine, Volume 31, features articles on a variety of games. Highlights include an interview about The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and a feature on Mary Boggle and Kumiyama's intentions. Other articles cover Nintendo Power, Fire Emblem, Thracia 776, and strategies for games such as Pokémon Snap and Wipeout 64. Games like Super Smash Bros., Animal Crossing, and Star Wars Shadows of the Empire also receive coverage. The Game Index lists numerous titles across multiple consoles, including NHL Blades of Steel, Puzzle Bobble 64, Harvest Moon 2, and many more. Regular features like news, reader questions, release calendars, and reader submissions are also included. March's N64 release calendar highlights the upcoming launch of several titles. Pokémon Snap is slated for March 21st, while Puzzle Bobble 64 arrives on March 5th. The calendar notes a shift towards shorter development times, exemplified by Super Smash Bros., and a trend of secrecy surrounding announcements until just before release. As with Pokémon Snap, the product group concept is discussed, showcasing Nintendo's strategy with titles like Mario Golf and Derby Stallion, and hinting at further 64DD information. Other notable releases include Akumaju Dracula Mokushiroku, March 11th, Daikaiju Monogatari 2 and J-League 11 Stadium, March 18th, and Top Gear Overdrive, March 19th. The calendar also details various other game releases and events throughout the month. This text presents two N64 game rankings. The Reader's Choice Anticipated New Games Top 20 is led by Mother 3, Earthbound 64, followed by JIKU Powerful Pro Yaku 6, and Ogre Battle 64. Other anticipated titles include Super Mario 642, Mario Golf 64, and Kirby 64. The What's Selling N64 Software Top 10 is topped by Super Smash Bros., followed by The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Mario Party. This list also features Harvest Moon 64 and Banjo-Kazooie. The text notes the anticipation for Mother 3, the development team's focus on emotional impact, and the close competition among the top-ranked games. A 1999 popularity ranking page details New Year's spending habits and game preferences. The survey revealed most people received between 30,000 and 35,000 yen, primarily spending it on game software or saving it. Average New Year's money received increased slightly to 33,727 yen. A separate ranking of N64 software purchased with New Year's money placed Super Smash Bros. At number 1, followed by Mario Party and The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Zelda also topped rankings for both Best Graphics and Best Scenario. Super Mario 64 and Yoshi's Story followed Zelda in graphics, while Earthbound, Mother 2, and Super Mario 64 were runner-ups for scenario. The page anticipates a future N64 game surpassing Zelda's standards, mentioning the anticipated Mother 3 as a possible contender. This page is about the upcoming Fire Emblem, Thracia 776, provisional title, game for the Nintendo 64. It introduces the game as the latest in the Fire Emblem series and teases fans with story and character details. The page features character introductions for Leaf, the main protagonist, who is described as a prince seeking to reclaim his kingdom. Asvel is introduced as a female warrior from Fianna Village who aids Leaf, and Nana is the daughter of Lachesis from North Midian, described as having a gentle nature and skilled with swords and staves. A system section highlights new gameplay features, mentioning that the game system is largely the same, but with new strategic elements. These include capture and release mechanics, and features where allied units can cooperate and support each other on the battlefield, enhancing evasion and hit rates, adding a new depth to unit coordination. This page showcases the history of the Fire Emblem series, highlighting 4 games released on Nintendo consoles before this title. It starts with Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, released on the FC in 1990, followed by Fire Emblem Gaiden on FC in 1991, then Fire Emblem Mystery of the Emblem on SFC in 1993, and lastly Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War on SFC in 1996. The page also introduces some characters from the game. Othin is a cheerful and sometimes quarrelsome axe fighter in the Fianna Volunteer Army. Tanya, daughter of Dagda, is a tomboyish hunter with a sharp tongue who often argues with Othin. Marita is Evel's adopted daughter, a competitive sword fighter striving to be as strong as Evel. Dazda, formerly a bandit boss, reformed after meeting evil and is now a dedicated warrior. Finn is a loyal lance knight serving the Leinster family, renowned across the continent for his dedication to protecting Leaf and restoring Leinster. The story direction section mentions that the game's story complements Genealogy of the Holy War, offering a richer experience for players familiar with the previous title. While the gameplay system is similar to Mystery of the Emblem, it promises to enhance both the emotional storytelling and strategic simulation aspects of the game. This page delves into Fire Emblem Thracia 776, describing it as positioned within the Super Famicom's Genealogy of the Holy War storyline. It's set in the Yggdrasil continent, amidst a great war sparked by Isaac, which spread to Weldon and Augustria. The article introduces the main characters, Leaf and Finn, who also featured in Genealogy of the Holy War, highlighting their popularity and roles. It questions how these characters will be portrayed in this new title, considering Leaf's prince status and Finn's known past. The page shows character stats and item lists for Leaf, Finn, and Nana, and a game map hinting at strategic gameplay, suggesting it retains the strategic elements of its predecessor. The article suggests that while playing Genealogy of the Holy War, isn't mandatory. It is recommended to fully appreciate. Thracia, 776. This page is an introduction to the Fire Emblem series, explaining what kind of game it is. It highlights that Fire Emblem is a campaign-based strategy game, a genre it pioneered, focusing on dramatic stories and well-developed characters. The page then walks through the gameplay flow, starting with unit deployment and map confirmation to strategize based on enemy positions and terrain. Next is unit movement, where players carefully position their units considering terrain advantages and support effects before engaging enemies. Battles involve combat resolution, experience gained for level-ups, and the crucial element of permanent character death if their HP reaches 0. Maps are typically cleared by defeating all enemies. Finally, the page touches on Thracia 776, the latest Super Famicom Fire Emblem title at the time, mentioning the anticipation for the series and hinting at a potential future release on the N64, creating excitement for what's next for Emblem. This page is dedicated to GameCube Powerful Pro Yaku 6, a baseball game for the N64. It highlights new additions to the game, emphasizing that baseball is evolving significantly. New modes are introduced, including home run race and dramatic pennant modes. The camp mode is also mentioned, allowing players to select pitchers for focused training. The game supports the 64GB pack, enabling data transfer from the Game Boy title Power Pro Pocket via password or the 64GB pack itself. The game is scheduled for release on March 25th and is priced at 7,800 yen. The page features screenshots showcasing these new modes and gameplay elements. This page is a preview for a baseball game, likely Power Pros 6. It highlights several improvements and new features for this iteration of the game. The first section details an increase in the number of players available for a match, now allowing for 3 additional players to be on the field. It mentions this is useful in pennant mode, where player shortages can occur. The second section discusses changes to bench player management, making bench players more impactful by adjusting their condition based on performance. It suggests that player condition will now affect their in-game abilities, adding a layer of strategy. The third section is about enhanced game balance and realism, touching upon aspects like stronger fastballs, making them harder to hit, improved pulling power for batters, more effective meat cursor hitting, leading to easier home runs and error variations. Other improvements mentioned include clearer on-screen displays during hits, enhanced game presentation, and more realistic defensive shifts, which now consider player abilities. Finally, the impact of the meat cursor, presumably a hitting indicator, is shown to dynamically change size based on player abilities, providing visual feedback on hitting power. The page promotes these changes as making the baseball experience more detailed and realistic. This page introduces a significantly changed success mode in a baseball game, likely in the Power Pro Baseball series, though the English title isn't directly stated and it may be Japan only. The Success College Student Edition focuses on a college baseball experience. You start by choosing a university, with Pawapuru University suggested initially. Player creation remains similar, selecting name, position, and appearance. The screen interface features main icons for practice, life, consultation, teammates' ability, and data, all selectable for both pitchers and fielders. The practice icon allows training in various areas, like running, pitching, fielding, batting, and mental aspects, tailored for pitchers and fielders separately. The life icon allows you to manage your players' off-field activities, choosing between rest, play, and part-time job, with the new addition of money management. This new money element is further explained with sections on expenses, including rent and club fees, and income from allowance or part-time jobs. Finally, the page highlights newly added special abilities players can acquire, such as bases loaded man, and various pitching traits like first pitch circle, late starter, slow starter, and walk prone. This page seems to be a guide for a baseball simulation game, likely on the N64. It looks like a walkthrough of the early stages of the game. It starts with registering in 64Dream, which could be the game title or a mode, where you set up your player profile. Then it talks about getting a manager to join the team, followed by the appearance of a rival character named Igari. Next, a care package arrives, likely an in-game item or reward. The guide then moves on to practice, with sections for pitching and fielding, emphasizing building stamina and learning skills. There's also a section about part-time jobs to earn money, but it warns about risky jobs. Finally, the page suggests that the game is packed with events and teases what might happen next, showing various event scenarios like meeting seniors, mothers, scouts, and potential girlfriends, leading to the draft. It seems to highlight the character development and life simulation aspects alongside baseball gameplay. This page is dedicated to detailing the dramatic evolution of the pennant mode in a baseball game, focusing on the depth and realism it brings to the experience. The page is broken down into sections highlighting key improvements and features, including enhanced camp training before the season where you can really develop players, strategic team composition decisions, and in-depth training regimes for pitching, batting, fielding, and base running. It mentions special training menus tailored to individual player needs and basic training to boost player morale through barbecue sessions. The screenshots showcase the in-game menus for team setup, training selections, and match play, indicating a comprehensive and strategic baseball simulation experience. It suggests that player development within the pennant mode is heavily influenced by in-game performance and camp training, aiming for a realistic pro baseball simulation. It seems to be promoting a feature-rich and immersive pennant mode that goes beyond previous iterations of baseball games. This page is a preview of the Game Boy Color game Power Pro Kun Pocket, focusing on the success mode, where you rebuild the Kyokuwaku Gakuen High School Baseball Club. The game revolves around recruiting members by visiting different sports clubs and challenging them in minigames. The training methods are similar to the familiar success mode from the main Power Pro series, allowing you to develop your players' abilities. A key feature highlighted is the ability to transfer created player data to the N64 Power Pro games using a password or 64 GB pack, extending the gameplay experience. The game is a sports genre title from Konami, set to release on March 25th, supporting one player with communication battle capabilities. Screenshots showcase the recruitment process and training screens for both pitchers and fielders. This page is a preview for the Japanese Nintendo 64 game Akumaju Dracula Mokushiroku, which translates to Castlevania Legacy of Darkness in English. It is described as a real action adventure. The text highlights the impressive graphics and the level of completion of the game, suggesting it will captivate players. The game information box on the right side lists the title as Akumaju Dracula Mokushiroku, the publisher as Konami, and a release date of March 11th. The price is 7,800 yen, and the genre is action. It is a one-player game and supports the vibration pack and backup cartridge. The image features the protagonists, Reinhard Schneider holding a sword, and Carrie Fernandez, a young woman with blue hair, sitting on a stone structure. In the background is Dracula. The text at the bottom translates to Purification of the Evil Spirits by the Chosen Ones of the Demon World. This page previews the Demon Castle Center area of Castlevania 64, referred to as Akumaju Dracula in Japan. It mentions that this stage, Stage 5, is in the middle to later part of the game and introduces the central area of Dracula's castle. The article emphasizes the increased difficulty, stating that it truly feels like a Dracula game from this point on, advising players to hone their skills. The text describes the Demon Castle Center as having libraries and study rooms, similar to a typical castle interior, but warns that challenging trials await players, including traps, boss battles, and enemies that test players' skills. It suggests collecting money by defeating enemies to replenish items, and recommends playing as Reinhard Schneider in this section. The screenshots depict typical castle environments with traps, enemies, and gameplay scenes. One text box mentions a door that won't open because magical power is not supplied. Another section highlights a trap with flames requiring good timing to avoid. The final image shows a large, demonic boss enemy, possibly a minotaur-like creature. This page showcases stages 6 and 7 of what appears to be Castlevania 64, titled Dual Tower and Tower of Execution, respectively. Stage 6, Dual Tower, is described as a tower where players will face Titan bosses in one-on-one combat. The text mentions that after defeating the giant boss at the end of the stage, the path to the next tower will open. It warns players that if they make a mistake, they'll be sent back to the beginning of the current stage, so careful gameplay is advised. The screenshots highlight close-quarters combat with large enemies and rotating spike traps, emphasizing the need for caution. Moving on to Stage 7, Tower of Execution, the text describes it as a perilous tower filled with traps. It emphasizes the need for players to stay calm and observe the traps carefully. The text notes that the traps move rhythmically and predictably, so mastering the timing is key to overcoming them. It suggests using jumps and carefully timed movements to avoid falling into the traps, and stresses the importance of courage in the face of these challenges. The screenshots show various platforming sections, with moving traps and precarious jumps over dangerous pits, reinforcing the theme of careful timing and obstacle avoidance. This page is a preview of stages 8 and 9 from Castlevania 64. Stage 8 is called Room of Clocks, described as a stage different from previous ones, questioning the player's purpose and intentions. It mentions Reinhard Schneider and emphasizes the need to fight calmly, and encourages players to replay the stage. Stage 9 is Clock Tower, leading to Dracula's castle. It's about venturing inside a massive clock tower and progressing with courage. Screenshots show gameplay with clockwork and gear-themed environments, including a boss battle against a monstrous enemy. A vampire character image is also featured, likely related to the game's story. This page is about the upcoming Nintendo 64 game, Pokémon Snap. It's a single-player game from Nintendo, where you play as a boy named Toru, who also appeared in the Pokémon anime. You explore Pokémon Island in a vehicle called 01 to photograph wild Pokémon in their natural habitats. The game is described as being all about your camera skills, and you are scored based on the quality of the photos you take, with better angles potentially leading to higher scores. The controls are said to be intuitive and similar to the Nintendo 64 controller. You can review your photos and scores in a Pokémon report system, with screenshots showing examples of Pokémon like Pikachu and Diglett, photographed in courses such as Beach and Tunnel. This page is focused on Pokémon Snap for the Nintendo 64. The headline emphasizes the numerous photo opportunities available in the game. The text explains that Pokémon Island is full of wild Pokémon, and encourages players to take pictures from various angles to capture great shots. Screenshots showcase gameplay featuring Pikachu, Diglett, Ponyta, and Rapidash, and a flock of Doduo and Dodrio. Another section describes the simple controls, explaining how to use the Z trigger and A button to take photos, and the C buttons for viewpoint changes. The page also includes a screenshot of Electabuzz. Essentially, it's highlighting the fun of photographing Pokémon in their natural habitats in Pokémon Snap, and introducing the basic controls. This page features the game Star Wars Rogue Squadron for the Nintendo 64. It highlights the game's setting on an ice planet, showcasing intense battles in snowy landscapes. Screenshots depict gameplay where you pilot a speeder bike and confront AT-AT walkers. The page emphasizes attacking Imperial bases and engaging with stormtroopers. The game is described as a shooting genre title, supporting one player and vibration packs. At the time of publication, the release date and price were still undecided, and it was being published by Nintendo. This page is about the mechanics of Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire for the N64, focusing on two types of Imperial walkers, the AT-AT and the AT-PT. It details the AT-AT as a heavily armored, four-legged walking tank that is difficult to damage with conventional attacks. It also mentions a unique weakness: the cable attack. The page explains how to execute a cable attack using a speeder to trip up an AT by wrapping its legs with a tow cable, causing it to fall. The AT-PT is described as a lighter, more mobile walker that can climb steep slopes and is armed with twin blaster cannons. Screenshots depict gameplay situations involving both AT-ATs and AT-PTs, showing the cable attack in action against the AT-AT and highlighting the AT-PT's agility. The page seems to be providing gameplay tips or insights into defeating these Imperial vehicles within the game. This page is an advertisement for Puzzle Bobble 64 on the Nintendo 64. It highlights the arrival of the popular arcade and home console puzzle game series to the N64. The advertisement boasts that the N64 version, titled Puzzle Bobble 64, has received high praise and is recommended by the well-known Mario Club for its quality. The page features screenshots of the gameplay and details the game's information, including its release date as March 5, 1999, a price of 4,800 yen, a 64M capacity, puzzle game genre, 1 to 4 player capability, and compatibility with the vibration pack and controller pack accessories. The game is published by Taito. This page is focused on explaining the simple rules of Puzzle Bobble 64. It details the basic gameplay of launching bubbles to match 3 or more of the same color to make them disappear. The page also explains how to read the game screen in a 2-player match, pointing out score and player indicators. Different types of bubbles are introduced, such as normal bubbles, metal bubbles that bounce off walls and ceilings, star bubbles that cause surrounding bubbles to disappear, rainbow bubbles that change the color of connected bubbles, and obstacle blocks that don't disappear and act as obstacles. Character profiles are given for Bublun, who is described as a well-balanced character suitable for beginners due to his 8 bubble colors and random bubble distribution, and Pritio, who is noted as tenacious and good for stable gameplay in crane games. The page also includes a story introduction describing the setting of Bubble World and the sudden appearance of game characters in it. Finally, the difficulty menu is shown with options like Practice, Normal, and Puzzle Bobble 2.5. This page is all about Puzzle Bobble 64, hailing it as the definitive version with a wealth of modes to enjoy. It highlights the arcade mode, which is a single-player puzzle experience where you clear bubbles to advance through map zones, with a massive 135 rounds to conquer across 27 zones and 5 rounds. They mention the bubble arrangements become increasingly challenging as you progress, making it a true test of skill. Then there's the Versus mode against the computer, offering 3 difficulty levels. By defeating all the computer-controlled characters, you unlock unique endings for each. For multiplayer fun, the 2-player Versus mode lets friends and family battle it out, with options to adjust the number of matches, and even introduce handicaps for balanced play. The page also introduces 3 characters. Chinkle from a quiz game world who uses powerful rainbow bubble attacks but is vulnerable when attacked. Marina from a Mahjong game world who drops red, yellow, and blue bubbles and is described as a bit fickle. And Luna from a tarot fortune-telling world, a fortune-teller who constantly replenishes bubbles from the ceiling, making her battles of attrition in nature. The screenshots showcase the gameplay of Puzzle Bobble 64 and the character selection screen. The next page introduces various modes of play within a puzzle game. The multiplayer mode supports up to 4 players or against calm opponents in battles, featuring modes like Survival and Time Trial. In Survival, players eliminate bubbles until only one remains. In Time Trial, players compete to eliminate bubbles fastest. Challenge mode presents stages with set conditions to clear. There are 5 stages with 25 rounds in total, where the player's arm skill is tested against criteria such as speed and number of shots. Collection mode is for single-player puzzle enthusiasts, boasting a large number of 10-25 stages to play through. Players can choose their favorite stages and aim to completely clear all of them. Endless Battle mode pits players against Siam characters to see how many consecutive wins they can achieve. The game continues indefinitely, as long as the player doesn't make mistakes. Edit mode allows players to create custom stages, up to 25 rounds. It's described as user-friendly, enabling saving, copying, and exchanging creations. The Editor-in-Charge's preview section expresses positive impressions, noting the depth and fun of the game, praising its accessibility for beginners, yet also offering challenging aspects, even for experienced players, especially in challenge mode. It's mentioned that the game is enjoyable for both casual and hardcore players. Featured characters include Punching Masked Hero, SSB, Trump Game Enthusiast, Jack, and the Fighting Karate Man, Musashi. Each character is briefly described with their fighting style. This page introduces Wipeout 64, highlighting its unprecedented speed experience in anti-gravity racing. It emphasizes that this is the 3rd installment in the series, following Wipeout and Wipeout XL. Leveraging the N64's power, the game offers overwhelmingly fast and smooth race scenes. The game is not just about speed, but also involves using attack items and turbo items to aim for first place in survival races for up to 4 players. The article mentions the exhilaration of multiplayer races versus CPU races. The screenshots show in-game racing action with lap times and player positions. Game information states the publisher is Coconut Japan Entertainment. The release date is late March, the price is 7,980 yen, and it supports 1 to 4 players, as well as Rumble Pack and Controller Pack. This page is focused on the Nintendo 64 game Wipeout 64. The page title emphasizes that true victory requires both speed and strength. The text explains that races are not just about speed, but also about using weapons to attack rivals, aiming for fast lap times, and considering both your own racing line and your opponent's strategies. Screenshots showcase in-game action with timers, lap records, and player positions during races. One image displays a "Congratulations" message alongside race statistics, showing a first-place finish with lap times and total race time. The page also details the game's 4 difficulty levels, ranging from beginner to super advanced, explaining that while beginner levels are easier with lower speeds, The higher levels demand skillful driving techniques to avoid crashes. This page explains the race screen for F-Zero X. It details the HUD elements such as check time, which is the time limit to reach the next checkpoint, lap record, showing the fastest lap recorded, which you can try to beat, weapon icon displaying held weapons or items, and lap time, showing lap times for each lap. It also explains current position, indicating your rank in the race, attack count, showing the number of times you've attacked rivals, slot gauge, which is an acceleration indicator, and shield energy that depletes with attacks or wall collisions, leading to retirement if it reaches 0. The page then showcases 6 courses with screenshots and brief descriptions. These are Hughes Bridge, described as an ice course, the first course, and easy with no sharp corners. Dragon Jew, set in ancient ruins, with traps appearing, but still considered low difficulty. Sohana, a mountain course with steep inclines and declines, requiring speed control. Oyagnes, a futuristic city course with many dark tunnels and poor visibility, but an easy course layout. Makoni 2, a forest course with sharp rises, falls, and curves, making it a difficult course with poor visibility. Terrafumos, a factory course with many sharp corners and large traps, requiring caution to avoid retirement. The page emphasizes that there are 6 courses plus an alpha course in total. This page details the 4 game modes available in Wipeout 64. It explains race mode, where you compete to finish in the top 3 out of 6 stages, time trial, where you aim for the fastest lap within a set time, and weapon mode, where you destroy target machines using weapons. Finally, multiplayer mode allows for 24 players to race against each other. The page also highlights the 13 types of weapons, items, in the game. These are power-ups collected on the track, and include weapon marks to identify them. Examples given are landmine, homing missile, and attack items like the Quake Disruptor, which creates an earthquake damaging nearby machines. There are also items to aid your own machine like speed boosts. Lastly, the page introduces the 4+ alpha types of racing machines in Wipeout 64. It mentions that machine performance varies, and you should choose one based on the course layout and your skill. The 4 main manufacturers are listed as FEISAR, described as easy to handle with good cornering but lower top speed, AG Systems with good acceleration but lower durability, AURICOM, known for good acceleration but harder cornering, and Direx, boasting the highest top speed but also difficult cornering. It suggests there are other hidden machines beyond these 4 main types. The next page introduces Jinsei Game 64, which translates to the Game of Life 64, a board game style experience for the N64. It mentions that there are 3 game modes to choose from when starting. The YY mode is described as the standard Game of Life mode, playable by up to 4 players including computer players, where the goal is to amass the most assets. Couple mode is for 2 players, where the objective is to get married, raise affection to 100%, and then compete to amass assets after marriage. Tug mode is a 2 versus 2 tag match, where teamed players share assets and aim to be the team with the most assets. The page also highlights that at the start of the game, you can choose your starting point as a baby, child, elementary school student, or high school student, and that in-game events will vary depending on your choice. The overall goal of the game is described as accumulating money. There are screenshots showing in-game events and the game board. This page is about the N64 game Architect, Monogatari no Kandate, released only in Japan. It introduces the game as a life simulation, where you experience different kinds of lives. The page details character creation, explaining that you can use pre-made characters, or create your own, customizing their name, birthday, and appearance. Characters have 4 parameters: intelligence, physique, sensitivity, and moral, which influence job opportunities and ranking up. Job selection is covered, stating you choose a job after graduating high school or university from 61 available professions. Your chosen job affects gameplay, and parameters influence which jobs are accessible. Rising parameters lead to salary increases. The page describes biorhythm, which impacts character condition based on physical, emotional, intellectual, and sensory cycles. This graph fluctuates and affects gameplay. Finally, roulette mechanics are explained. To move on the map, You use a roulette controlled with the 3D stick. The page emphasizes that life in the game is dictated by the roulette. The right side of the page explains the game screen interface, highlighting command options, current parameters, ranking based on total assets, cash plus property plus stocks, and the player character display. It also touches upon job battles, where social opponents in the same space engage in battles decided by roulette outcomes, with winners gaining parameters and money. This page is about the N64 game, Sugoro Quest, Dice Kids, which was only released in Japan. It highlights various aspects of the game's mechanics in a board game style format. The page details different types of spaces on the game board. Event spaces can trigger 14 different types of events depending on the game map, with some events being quite unexpected. The property spaces section explains how players can buy properties like luxury residences and commercial properties such as Johnny Mart to generate income when other players land on them. Card spaces allow players to utilize cards to their advantage. These cards can be purchased at shop spaces, and examples of cards like Orico Cart, Horse Cart, and Cheater Cart are mentioned. The page also covers love and marriage within the game. Players can marry opposite-sex characters by building affection through repeated love events on heart spaces. Finally, there's a section called Meaning of Life, featuring an interview with Wataru, a 37-year-old book editor-in-chief. He reflects on the varied nature of life and connects it to the game's life simulation aspects. The next page talks about the game of life on the N64. It describes various game events, starting with help events, where you assist characters like an angel, Mako-chan, and Devil-kun in different locations. Then it explains the Red Bridge event, where crossing it turns your character into an elderly person, and the first player to cross collects tolls from others. A section titled Meaning of Life features a player named Mochi, who recounts playing the game of life since childhood and still enjoys it at 64 in-game years and 25 real years old, finding meaning in the game. The page also details the last gamble before reaching the goal, a lottery where you bet your assets, risking bankruptcy. Regarding the ending, it mentions that reaching the goal with few assets leads to a poverty development ending. Furthermore, even after the game seemingly ends, there's a final judgment by Enma Daio, King Yama. Bad in-game actions might lead to a hell outcome, though this is rare. Finally, it briefly covers the history of the game of life in Japan, stating the board game first appeared about 31 years prior to 1999. The Japanese version evolved into the Life game series, a popular domestic brand, and the N64 version was released on March 19, 1999. This page is all about the upcoming N64 game Last Legion UX, a 3D robot fighting action title from Hudson. The page highlights the game's robots, named Jankees and Galavin, showing off their special weapons and fighting styles. It mentions the game's story revolving around robots called Legion, battling against light raid forces, using powerful power stones. Screenshots showcase the 3D robot combat gameplay, and the game databox confirms it's a 3D robot fighting action game for 12 players, compatible with the Vibration Pack, and scheduled for a May 1999 release in Japan. The page emphasizes robot customization and strategic combat within the game. This page is about the N64 game Last Legion UX. It introduces the game by explaining it as a customizable robot action game. You choose your robot from 6 options in story mode, each with different combat styles. Before battle, you can select weapons, choosing from hand-type or arm-type weapons, as well as shields. The screen display is broken down, explaining elements like radar showing enemy locations and distance, gauges for weapon ammo, energy levels for both you and your opponent, and a Power Stone gauge. The page details the 2-player battle mode and highlights the Power Stone system, which is central to the game, explaining that by maximizing the Power Stone gauge, you can unleash a powerful attack and potentially turn the tide of battle even when at a disadvantage. The page emphasizes using the environment and traps in battle. It concludes by mentioning that the mecha designs are by a famous designer, and more details will be revealed next month. The next page introduces Shadowgate 64, a 3D adventure game for the N64. This is the sequel to the classic Shadowgate series, and was released by Kemco in Japan, slated for April 28. The game is highlighted as a real 3D adventure game, and is described as a continuation of Shadowgate Returns. The text emphasizes the game's quality and immersive world, noting it is a 99 spring anticipated software. It mentions that it is a proper orthodox adventure game, with a focus on exploration within the game world and puzzle solving. The article poses the question, what is an adventure game? And explains that it is about exploring the game world and making choices to advance the story, emphasizing careful decision-making and observation rather than relying solely on techniques or experience. The page includes screenshots showing in-game environments and characters, along with a large character portrait of a male elf-like protagonist and a smaller image of a female character, possibly an important NPC. The text also hints at meeting many characters during the adventure, and the importance of conversations with them to influence the game's direction. It warns that even items bought in stores require careful consideration. This page previews the Game Boy Color game Shadowgate Return. It details the story, which is set in a world ruled by swords and magic, where the ancient kingdom of Kulturain was attacked by the evil Warlock Lord. The story takes place several hundred years after the battle with Warlock Lord, and the kingdom is in ruins. Shadowgate Castle is now inhabited by monsters and thieves, and the protagonist, Deal, gets captured and imprisoned in Shadowgate Castle. The screenshots show gameplay in the dungeon-like castle. The text next to the screenshots describe various scenes, such as exploring the castle and encountering enemies, including a scene where flames erupt from the central tower of Shadowgate Castle, suggesting someone is trying to release the Warlock Lord. The page also highlights that Shadowgate Return is a remake of the Famicom game Shadowgate, released in 1989, and a prequel to Shadowgate 64 on the Nintendo 64. It describes the game as a command selection adventure game where a single mistake can be fatal. This page is about the N64 game Super Bowling. It highlights the fun of bowling and how this game captures the excitement of the sport. It is a powered-up version from the SFC series, playable by up to 4 people, and supports rumble and controller packs. The page details 4 steps to play the game: deciding the direction, power and spin, throwing the ball, and watching the result. Screenshots show the gameplay. Menus like BW menu, with options like Open, Golf, and Challenge, and in-game characters. The game features stage mode, with varied lanes and characters, and different modes with cute icons. It is from Athena, scheduled for release on March 26, 1999, priced at 6,800 yen, and is a sports genre game. This N64 bowling game boasts abundant modes, including Variety, Stage, Collection, VS, and Practice. Variety mode offers open bowling, golf bowling, and challenge bowling. Stage mode unlocks characters, lanes, and modes as you progress. Collection lets you view characters and their unique motions. VS mode requires fast pin clearing before a deadline. Practice mode allows for practicing pin arrangements. Several characters, like HIRO and RIN, each with unique abilities and stats, are available. A review by Chizuru praises the game's depth, variety, and addictive nature, comparing it to the real-life bowling experience. This page is all about Super Dimensional Night Pro Baseball King 2. This sports game is a baseball simulation for 1 to 4 players, requiring 128 M of memory, and supports controller packs and rumble packs. Developed by Imagineer and scheduled for release in March for 6,800 yen, the article highlights the realistic ball movement, especially the curveballs, making it feel like a real baseball game. It mentions Yokohama Baystars pitcher Sasaki's forkball and Hoshino's rising curve as examples of the realistic pitch types in the game. Screenshots show off these pitches, including a forkball, a slow curve, and a rising curve, and highlight different camera viewpoints, including a standard catcher's view and a diagonal view, with the article noting there are 3 viewpoints to choose from, and the standard view is considered the easiest to play with. The next page introduces more game modes. It highlights Attack Mode, which features 6 mini-games designed for practicing batting, base running, fielding, and pitching. These include modes like Home Run Derby, Strikeout, and Base Running. The page also details Create Mode, where you can make your own baseball players, either Japanese or foreign. In this mode, you start from Koshien, high school baseball tournament, and aim to get drafted professionally. For foreign players, your abilities are determined by answering 15 questions. Finally, Edit Mode is presented, allowing you to freely organize teams through draft, trade, and all-star team formation options. Draft Mode lets you pick players via a draft. Trade Mode enables player swaps between the 12 teams, and All-Star Mode allows you to create dream teams within a league. The next page introduces the game modes for 64 Grand Sumo 2. It details 2 main modes, Training Mode and Tournament Wrestler Mode. Training Mode is designed to teach players the basics of sumo wrestling, starting from the fundamental stance and progressing to advanced techniques. It allows players to practice against AI opponents who use various moves, enabling them to learn counter techniques and refine their skills. This mode also includes a story element, letting players train and challenge friends. Tournament Wrestler mode lets players use wrestlers they've trained in other modes. It uses a controller pack to save wrestler data. This mode is described as a way to enjoy the game in depth, where players can watch COM vs. SIAM tournaments or use wrestlers trained in story mode in different tournaments. The game emphasizes how wrestlers grow stronger over time. The page also shows screenshots of both modes in action. Rikishi Selection and Dream 64 are also mentioned. Dream 64 likely being a feature within the game or perhaps a mini-game with unlockable content, potentially related to character customization like blood type and personality influencing COM playstyle. The page highlights that the stamina gauge doesn't decrease in training, allowing for extensive practice, and that various settings and techniques can be configured for training, even setting techniques for the AI to perform. This page is about the story mode and versus mode of the N64 sumo wrestling game, 64 Ozumo 2, which was a Japan-exclusive title. The story mode is presented as a way to raise a wrestler over 5 years, starting as a newcomer and aiming to become a great wrestler. You can customize your wrestler's appearance and stats through slot machine-style selections. The story involves interactions with characters like the Stable Master and Okami-san, the Stable Master's wife, senior wrestlers, rival wrestlers, and even a female character who adds color to the sumo world. It mentions that to strengthen your wrestler, you can engage in training, including minigames that improve various abilities. There are 8 types of minigames to participate in for training. The Versus mode, also known as Torikumi mode, allows you to use wrestlers raised in story mode or preset COM wrestlers in matches. This mode features both single matches and tournaments, including a bottom-up cup tournament for 16 wrestlers. In tournaments, you aim to win 4 matches to become champion and receive a trophy. You can choose to play against the CPU or with friends, and even observe CPU versus CPU matches, focusing on analyzing wrestler growth and strategies. The page emphasizes the depth of strategic play in versus mode. This page introduces the N64 game One Guy Monster, a monster raising simulation. The game is set to be released on April 9th, priced at 6,980 yen, and supports 12 players with vibration pack compatibility. The page details 3 main gameplay aspects. Firstly, players can send their monsters on errands given by the character's mother, earning experience and rewards upon successful completions. Secondly, feeding is crucial for monster development, with different foods influencing monster attributes and even their type. Lastly, players can embark on adventures with their monsters to reach specific locations, facing wild monster battles along the way. Success in both errands and adventures rewards players with items and experience points, contributing to monster growth and strength. The screenshots showcase these elements, such as feeding, errand completion, and battles and adventures. The next page focuses on Top Gear Overdrive and explains the nitro system. It details what nitro is in the game, describing it as similar to igniting gunpowder instead of gasoline for explosive acceleration. The page explains how to obtain nitro by passing under signs on the course, but warns that you can't simply get unlimited nitro by repeatedly passing under the same sign because they turn red after being used. It also advises on how to use nitro effectively, suggesting it's best utilized for powerful acceleration, especially right after the start, or after recovering from a crash to regain speed. It warns against using nitro unnecessarily, as it can be wasted, particularly in automatic transmission cars, where gear changes might not align with the nitro boost. The page emphasizes the importance of timing and strategic use of nitro to maximize its effect in races. Screenshots illustrate gameplay moments with nitro boosts and speedometers, displaying the increased velocity. This page is about the N64 game NHL Blades of Steel. It's an ice hockey game, and it's promoted as the world's highest peak of NHL action on the N64. The page highlights that it is the latest ice hockey game from Konami, building on the previous Olympic Hockey Nagano title, and promises evolved battles and rules based on the NHL. The page emphasizes easy controls for newcomers to ice hockey, while still offering deep gameplay with various techniques. It mentions 3 game modes: Exhibition, Season, and Playoffs. The screenshots show in-game action and highlight the super beautiful graphics and the cool feeling of playing on ice. A section details basic ice hockey rules and terminology, such as goalie, interceptor, one-timer, slap shot, drop pass, and cross-checking. Another section focuses on the powerful shots and the excitement of scoring goals. Finally, it mentions the flashy productions and spectacular scenes like fights, suggesting the game is packed with dramatic moments beyond just gameplay. The game is slated for release on April 1st, priced at 7,800 yen and requiring 96 MB of memory. It's compatible with vibration packs and controller packs. This page is a sticker sheet from a magazine. It's volume 31 and features special stickers. The main theme is the 3rd anniversary of Pocket Monsters, also known as Pokemon, dated February 27, 1999. There are stickers of various Pokemon characters like Charizard, Gengar, Flareon, Venusaur, Blastoise, Tauros, Alakazam, Chansey, Pikachu, and Ditto. It also includes stickers themed around the game Pokemon Pinball. Additionally, there are name and address label stickers and stickers featuring game titles including Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness, Top Gear Overdrive, 64 Grand Sumo 2, which was only released in Japan, and Puzzle Bobble 64. This page is a content page. It appears to be listing sections or articles in the magazine. This page features the From Letters section, where readers have sent in questions. One reader asks about the purpose of the controller pack, which is explained as a data storage device for N64 games without built-in save functionality, comparing it to memory cards used on other consoles. Another reader seeks advice on how to encourage a friend to play the N64. There is a notice about a 20,000 yen plan for readers. The main article is titled, Nintendo New Hardware Mystery Pursuit, discussing the rumors of new Nintendo hardware that are circulating in weekly magazines. The article speculates whether this new hardware will be related to the N64 or the Game Boy, and considers potential features such as communication and online capabilities, maybe even for trading monsters in games. Games mentioned are Zelda and Sakura Taisen, with some thought given to software quality and online functionalities that might be possible with new hardware. 2 small comic panels are also included on the page. This magazine section features columns from various contributors. Kei Sasame discusses Burnout from Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and anticipates new game releases, including Ogre Battle 3. Massey analyzes the game industry, referencing a Famitsu interview, and Sakura Wars, pondering its maturity with the internet's rise. Mochio reviews the TV show Boys Ragger, highlighting its voice actors and theme song. Fukami provides advice in a Q&A, recommending a student balance N64 gaming with studying. Massey also shares his enjoyment of foreign dramas, arcade games like Joe and Mac, and JoJo games, and collects To Heart Gashapon toys. Kei and Mochi share brief comments about being broke and turning to older games or horse racing. This page is titled 64DD Chatlog and discusses the 64DD's release and related concerns from a reader in Osaka. The main topic revolves around the reader's disappointment that games initially announced for 64DD, such as Pokesta and Pokesuna, might be released on cartridges instead. The article explores the reasons behind the delay and uncertainty surrounding the 64DD launch, mentioning the difficulty of software development and the desire for software makers to survive by releasing high-quality games like Zelda. There are side sections like This Month's Image Painting featuring a character named Chizuru, and This Month's Sake, recommending Denki Bran as a drink for those over 20. In the Teach Me Mr. Kanaoka Q&A corner, a question is asked about the Kunio-kun series and the fate of Technos Japan, the company behind it, which is said to have gone bankrupt around 45 years prior due to involvement in real estate and stock market issues during the bubble economy. The Club Activity Report Volume 6 Sazan Department is about a club that enjoys the sea and summer and are fans of the band Southern All-Stars, mentioning members and club activities. The Ohegaki Corner is for reader submissions like questions and opinions, and the magazine provides an address for sending them in. Finally, Best Match Game section highlights Pikachu Genki Dechu, Hey You Pikachu, as a recommended game. This page from 64Dream magazine features reader-submitted tips and a thought-provoking discussion about The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. The small tips include creating a campfire at the Spirit Temple entrance and triggering Kuko attacks in Kakariko Village. The magazine also introduces Doriteru Churama marks to illustrate minor game glitches. The article then delves into the morality of Link's actions, specifically his housebreaking, theft of rupees, and destruction of property. The section called Link Objection directly questions whether these actions are justifiable, prompted by a reader's letter. It further questions the behavior of characters in the game. The article invites readers to share their opinions on justifying Link's actions and those of other characters in the game. This page is dedicated to user-submitted ocarina music arrangements. Featured themes include Hyrule Lakeside theme from The Legend of Zelda, Soundstone from Earthbound, which was known as Mother 2 in Japan, and Aim to be a Pokemon Master from Pokemon. The page also encourages readers to send in illustrations and comments for the Zelfu Corner. This page offers GoldenEye 007 gameplay suggestions, including a bomb soldier strategy using grenades for team battles, and a rocket launcher festival for stress relief. The page also provides updates on several upcoming and recently released games. Winback's release is delayed, much to the staff's disappointment. Turok 2. Seeds of Evil is out in America, with a delayed Japanese release. Perfect Dark's development is progressing, with an expected American release soon and a potential Japanese release around year-end or early 2000. Resident Evil 2, developed for the 64DD, is nearing completion, with speculation on the main character for the 64DD version. This text summarizes content from a publication, likely a magazine. The Null Army Hybrid Communications section mentions staff enjoying Nash Bridges. Null Army Junk Anecdotes discusses struggles finding game coverage, mentioning Fighter's Destiny as a past feature and a desire for a Fire Emblem corner. The Reader Report includes feedback. A reader in Tokyo enjoys the magazine, while another in Chiba provides game feedback, Space Battleship Yamato, and expresses surprise at the magazine's popularity. The Future Special Corner section announces upcoming features on N64 games, Fire Emblem, Ogre Battle 3, possibly a misunderstanding, Power Pro 6 and Power Pro Kun Pocket, and Pokemon Gold/Silver, and Pokestadium 2. The publication is already receiving submissions for Fire Emblem and planning coverage for the others. Finally, the Soliciting Title Names and Plans for Desired Corners section asks readers to submit ideas for future corner titles related to the mentioned games. This page is a comic strip titled Dream Drunker, which seems to be a humorous take on video games, primarily focusing on the upcoming Super Smash Bros. Game. The comic features characters like Fox McCloud, Falco Lombardi, Peppy Hare, and Slippy Toad from Star Fox, alongside Bowser. They are discussing the upcoming Smash Bros. Game, and whether they are taking it seriously enough, considering their opponents are very strong, possibly referring to Mario. Bowser confidently declares that Mario is his opponent, and he doesn't need tactics to win, but then seems to reveal he has a plan involving a two-legged walking robot, which Falco suggests might be cheating. The comic ends with Bowser offering to teach a special move to someone, implying it will guarantee victory. At the bottom, it mentions Fire Emblem, or Dracula, Castlevania, as being next, possibly hinting at future comic themes. This page is a special Doriteku, or Trick Technique feature, Volume 4, from 64Dream magazine. It is a book and book section within the April issue, focusing on a complete collection of trick techniques for N64 software released in the latter half of 1998. This particular volume is called the Bone version and completes the Iron Bone Doriteku collection, along with the previously released Iron version from a prior issue. The page features artwork of a menacing skeleton warrior and Link from the Legend of Zelda series, visually representing the theme of bone and potentially hinting at games with skeletal or undead elements, or perhaps challenging gameplay requiring skillful techniques. The Doratech Hall of Fame Special Bone version details hidden techniques and tips for N64 games, following 5 Doratech commandments focused on thorough tip collection, understanding limitations, respecting editors, awareness of file re-editing, and appreciating bug techniques. It also presents a Doratech history walk, showcasing magazine covers and games covered across 3 volumes. Volume 1, February 1998, featured Super Mario 64 and other titles. Volume 2, March 1998, included Mario Kart 64 and Star Fox 64, while Volume 3, March 1999, highlighted Diddy Kong Racing and Yoshi's Story. Instructions are provided on how to carefully detach the center-bound appendix from the magazine. This page is the contents page of the magazine. It lists the games that are featured in this issue and the page numbers they can be found on. The games mentioned include International Superstar Soccer 98, F-Zero X, Penny Racers, Super Robot Spirits, Pokemon Stadium, Super B-Damon Battle Phoenix 64, Nagano Winter Olympics 98, Rakuga Kids, 64 Trump Collection, Alice in Wonderland, Trump Collection, Igikun Nobura Squared Poyon, Let's Smash, Kirato Kaiketsu, 64 Detective Agency, City Tour Grand Prix, All Japan GT Championship, and Magical Tetris Challenge, featuring Mickey. Other games listed are Weetrix, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Banjo-Kazooie, Knife Edge, Fighting Cup, Getter Love, Crane, Hey You Pikachu, F1 World Grand Prix, Chameleon Twist 2, Snowspeeder, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, King Hill 64, Extreme Snowboarding, Mario Party, Dokapon, Ikari no Tetsuken, and New Japan Pro Wrestling, Tucon Road 2, The Next Generation. The page also provides a legend explaining the genre symbols used in the magazine, such as RPG for role-playing and ACT for action, and button symbols for controls like the D-pad, A button, B button, L and R triggers, Z trigger and C buttons. This guide provides advanced F-Zero X gameplay tips. It starts with a cheat code, L plus Z plus R plus cup, C down, cleft, C right, start, to unlock all cups. Several shortcut strategies are outlined. Boosting off a ramp on Slimline Track 2, King Cup, going off course on Rainbow Road, Jack Cup, and jumping into the pit area on Moonsault, King Cup. Clearing Expert Class in first unlocks an Mecha Komi-style title screen, while Master Class unlocks a Milton-style design. Other techniques include adjusting neutral stick position, using the D-pad for precise settings, performing a skywalk, reducing time in Death Race, and using the L button to view time differences. Finally, the guide reveals a hidden emotional staff role viewable by achieving first place overall in all 4 Expert Class Grand Prix Cups. This page is dedicated to Choro Q64, showcasing special features and techniques for the game. It details how to obtain special parts by meeting certain conditions, like winning races in specific classes and courses. For example, obtaining MAXS by achieving lap times under 42 seconds in the Minato course in Class A. The page also reveals how to get the special Choro Q14 car by winning first place in all Class A races and finding the special item Get Screen. Cheat codes are highlighted, including a command to unlock all classes by pressing directional buttons and Z at the title screen. Another cheat provides unlimited use of special parts by inputting a button combination during race start screen. Gameplay techniques like spinning attack using the 3D stick and R button during jumps are explained, along with start dash acceleration, achieved by precise timing at the start signal. Instructions are provided on how to duplicate parts using controller packs between players, and finally, how to equip the H-Laser weapon by pressing a button combination in the Choro Q Select Game Start menu. The page features screenshots illustrating gameplay and menu screens from Choro Q64. The next page is about Super Robot Spirits, a fighting game featuring mecha robots. The page details how to unlock hidden characters by fulfilling certain conditions in various game modes, like VS Mode, Training Mode, and Story Mode. It mentions unlocking Super Mode Shining Gundam and using Dunbine and Tomakak. There are also special gameplay tips like Spiritless Infinite for Story Mode, and details on changing character voices to popular voice actors if you clear Story Mode. Gameplay tips include Judeka Air Dash and Dongfang Bubai's Wrath, which seem to be special moves or features. The page also covers Pokemon Stadium. It discusses getting a Surfing Pikachu by winning a battle against Pikachu in the Master Cup with rental Pokemon. It also mentions winning all tournaments in the level 130 class to get Doduo's Game Boy in level 5055 class. The page highlights the Pokédex mode, allowing you to rotate 3D polygon models of Pokemon to view them from different angles, and observing trainers in Battle Stadium during gameplay. This page is a game guide for Super B-Daemon Battle Phoenix 64, detailing how to acquire all B-Daemon items within the game. It lists items categorized by type, including competition use, graphics, sound, and other items. For each item, it provides the specific conditions needed to obtain it within the game. The page serves as a comprehensive checklist for players aiming to collect every item available in Super B-Daemon Battle Phoenix 64. This page focuses on cheat codes and extra features for several Nintendo 64 games. First up is Olympic Hockey Nagano 98, detailing option settings and cheat codes. You can alter announcer voices and character body/head sizes using button combinations. A rando test mode is also mentioned, accessible via a specific button sequence during the fighting option screen, promising chaotic matches. Team selection instructions are also provided. Next, RAKUGAKIDS is featured. It reveals hidden characters unlocked by playing the game for extended periods. Extra options become available based on playtime. A password section details codes like Rolf Harris and Too Much Pie, each unlocking different effects like wireframe mode or changing character sizes and jump heights. 64 Trump Collection. Alice's Waku Waku Trump World is next, listing special effect commands for various card games within the collection like Blackjack, Poker, and Speed. These commands alter card patterns and game levels using button inputs during gameplay. Finally, Iggy-kun no Bura Squared Pawn is covered. Paris. It details password entry during the title screen by pressing Z+R to access a password input screen for unlocking special effects. This page presents a collection of gameplay tips and features for several N64 games. For Let's Smash Tennis, it details hidden courts selectable by equipping specific items, explains how to increase costume items using a controller pack, and how to change the ball color. It also mentions a perspective change called Fallen from the Roof during gameplay. Next, Kirato Kaiketsu 64 Tantaidan is featured, showing how to change character colors and remove glasses, and also alter the viewpoint on the title screen. For City Tour Grand Prix, All Japan GT Championship, the page reveals how to unlock a hidden course by winning the championship mode on all courses. Magical Tetris Challenge featuring Mickey has sections on shortening the magical gauge, the terrifying mark feature, the endless graph in endless mode, and the soaking wet water puddle feature. Finally, Wet Tetris is shown with its floor option that goes up to level 8, variations in pieces described as ordinary and different pieces, and a feature related to a waving water surface. The next page covers tips and techniques for The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. One section describes how to infinitely increase stalactites by using a boomerang and 3D stick plus A button combo. Another tip explains how to put 21 items into bottles by using fish, setting bottles to C buttons, releasing fish, recatching them, and quickly switching items during the catching animation. The page also details a fishing trick to catch a sinking lure and Hyrule Loach by fishing at specific spots in the fishing pond and noting the varying hit rates for Hyrule Loach based on time and weather. There's a funny technique mentioned about making a chicken climb a waterfall in Zora's River by throwing it into the water. Another secret technique reveals how to peek under a woman's skirt by facing her, locking on with Z, setting a Deku Nut or similar item to a C button, and using the 3D stick. Finally, it explains that using a light arrow to defeat certain enemies will yield 50 rupees instead of the usual 110 rupees. This document details several gameplay techniques for The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Players can observe sunrise from specific locations by camera manipulation. Easy fishing involves using hover boots to lure fish outside the pond. Magic beans can be grown into leaf platforms with the Song of Storms, granting access to Deku Baba viewing. Nekapona can be used to glitch over fences at Lon Lon Ranch. Other tricks include climbing unclimbable ice with jump slashes, diving carelessly off Gerudo's Fortress Bridge, finding a repeatable rupee on the Bridge of Hylia, exploiting the Four Master bug to simplify a boss fight, playing the ocarina freely with the L button held down, and deflecting Phantom Ganon's magic with a bottle. The next page dives into cheat codes and secrets for a few Nintendo 64 games. For Banjo-Kazooie, it details Bottle's hidden game, explaining how to find bottles at Banjo's house fireplace, and complete puzzle games for rewards and passwords up to level 7. It also reveals file selection secrets, mentioning that on the file select screen, pressing A will start the game, and Z will delete the file. There's a section about Mumbo Jumbo's magic big failure, stating that sometimes Mumbo Jumbo's magic transformations might fail, turning Banjo into a washing machine. Interestingly, there is a small section about Conker's girlfriend in a place like this, pointing out that in Banjo-Kazooie, Conker's girlfriend's picture is in the bedroom of the staff member who is in charge of ship's interior design. Moving on to Knife Edge Nose Gunner, a shooting game. It unveils Super Hard Mode, activated at the Kemco logo screen by pressing specific buttons, and Stage Select Mode, accessible on the stage number display screen. Get Her Love, ooh, a dating sim, is featured next with Title Screen Change, that modifies the title screen based on memories collected in the game, showcasing a group photo. It also describes an album scroll feature within the Memories mode to view special event photos. Finally, Fighting Cup, a fighting game, lists hidden character usage conditions, detailing unlockable characters like Master, Joker, Robert, Ibokan, and Ushi, along with their specific unlock requirements based on completing versus calm mode and other challenges. The next page highlights features for Pikachu Genki Dechu, which seems to be a Pikachu-focused game or mode. It mentions finding hidden holes in the Akane no Mori during lunchtime, using voice recognition to select courses, and interacting with Poliwag in the sea by throwing items into the water. It also points out that Pikachu's eyes spin sometimes, and that speaking to strange objects in the game makes them rotate, though the meaning is unclear. Apparently, Pikachu dislikes the Thunderbolt move, and will cover its ears when it hears it. Moving on to game previews, first up is F1 World Grand Prix, released on December 18, 1998. It supports the Rumble Pak and mentions cheat codes, including one for a vacation course. The page then covers Chameleon Twist 2, out December 25, 1998, which is also Rumble and Controller Pack compatible. This game features mini-games unlocked by collecting carrots within stages. Finally, there's Snowspeeder, released December 26, 1998, supporting both Rumble and Controller Packs. This game includes mirror courses and hidden characters, with Mr. Pellenpa and Mr. Hayami mentioned as unlockable characters after clearing all races and mirror courses, and defeating a robot called Kish5 and Afro. This page is a preview for two games. The first game is Ganbare Goemon, Derodero Dushu Obake Tenko Mori, which is part of the Mystical Ninja series, and it is highlighted as supporting 4-player simultaneous play. The preview mentions collecting 44 hand cards throughout the game, which are used for various purposes like purchasing outfits at the Yorozuya shop. It also lists different areas within the game, such as Oedo, Dragon Palace, Underground World, Floating Castle, and Demon World Island, each with specific locations and conditions to obtain hand cards and trigger events. The page details how to dash in town areas for faster movement, and a game mechanic related to restarting with 100 Ryo of in-game currency. The second game preview is for King Hill 64 Extreme Snowboarding, which was released internationally as Yakaichi Jaha Shike Faturai, and in North America as Rippin' Riders. This section discusses hidden characters and boards that can be unlocked by winning first place in all courses of the competition mode. It mentions there are 6 types of hidden characters and boards. The page also features a list of advanced trick commands with button inputs, like the Matrix Twist 720, Rodeo, Misty Flip, Back Flip, Front Flip, and Egg Flip. Release date and pricing information are provided for both games. This page covers 2 Nintendo 64 games, Mario Party and Bakusho Jinsei 64. Mezase, Resort Us, and also New Japan Pro Wrestling, Tukan Road 2. For Mario Party, it details how to unlock hidden stages by playing all initial stages and buying items, plus how to unlock Koopa's Magma Mountain and Rainbow Star. It mentions that the title screen changes based on who wins in normal play, with 6 different patterns. A feature for one-player mode to change calm-controlled players to human players in the last turn is also described. For Bakusho Jinsei 64, Mezase Resort Chi, it explains hidden maps are unlocked by clearing the tournament, revealing the 8th map, Moontown. It details rival character selection and an autosave mode. Finally, for New Japan Pro Wrestling, Tukan Road 2, it outlines conditions to unlock hidden wrestlers in MVP mode, including Choshu Riki, Tiger King, and Naoya Ogawa. Unlocking Antonio Inoki in MVP mode allows you to see his retirement scene. The page also explains MVP mode character selection and costume changes in exhibition mode. This page seems to be a thematic header page for a section in the magazine called Hall of Fame: The Dream Technique, Skull Version. It features artwork of skeletal figures and flying skull creatures, setting a spooky or horror-themed tone for this section of the magazine, likely focusing on gameplay strategies or special techniques within games, under this Skull Version theme. The Desu Senen's gorilla-friendly N64 classroom features a Q&A on N64 topics. One question concerns creating N64 games without programming knowledge. The answer recommends learning basic computer skills and mentions tools like ASC2's tool series for creating original games across various genres. Another question addresses unlicensed N64 merchandise, listing items such as game modification cartridges, adapters, and peripherals, often manufactured in Hong Kong or Taiwan. The 64DD's modem capabilities allow online play, data updates, and game downloads. Most 64DD games require expansion RAM. Finally, the page suggests using earphones, rather than reducing volume, to conserve Game Boy battery life. This page is an article discussing the N64's graphics capabilities, specifically focusing on what is called high-resolution graphics for the system. It mentions that high resolution on the N64 means 640 by 480 dots, compared to the standard 320 by 240 resolution of older consoles, and how this impacts the visual experience. The article uses NFL Quarterback Club 98 and NFL Quarterback Club 99 as examples of games that showcase these improved graphics, mentioning the enhanced clarity and detail compared to low resolution. It notes that the Dreamcast, released around the same time, also utilized 640 by 480 resolution as standard. The article highlights the N64 expansion pack, pictured on the page, and explains that installing it increases the N64's RAM to 8 megabytes, which is crucial for achieving these higher resolution graphics in games. Games that support the expansion pack are mentioned as being able to deliver truly beautiful graphics. The piece concludes by pondering whether N64 graphics can truly be considered impressionistic paintings, as described in the headline, and if the visual quality is significantly different from standard resolution. It raises the question of what truly makes graphics appealing, suggesting it is not just about resolution, but also artistic elements and direction. Miyamoto's quote from Dengeki Nintendo 64 magazine is included, where he expresses interest in seeing a comparison between high-resolution graphics and games like Zelda, to determine which is preferred. The article ends by saying the real issue is not just technical capabilities, but how these are used to display and present things visually. This page is a reader forum section titled N64 Forum, from the Rock On Dream Club Music Department. Readers are discussing the success of the N64, attributing it to Nintendo's strength and the hit game Zelda, likely referring to The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. There's anticipation for future N64 titles, especially in the RPG genre. Readers debate the true meaning of RPGs, with some considering titles like Mario 64 and GoldenEye 007 as RPGs in a broader sense, while others point to games like Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy as typical RPGs. The discussion also touches upon games like Ogre Battle, Evangelion, and upcoming titles like Mother 3 and Sakura Wars. There's a reader questionnaire section asking about features for the 64Dream homepage and merchandise related to Zelda and Gundam. One reader expresses surprise about playing Sakura Wars on Game Boy Color, and another hopes for Game Boy Color connectivity. This page from 64Dream magazine presents Dream Impression Reviews. It starts with a spotlight on Super Smash Bros., with the bold claim that it exceeded hidden skill Red and White, suggesting it surpassed even traditional Japanese New Year entertainment in popularity. The review talks about the excitement for 1999 and the game's dreamlike quality, mentioning it as a million seller, and highlighting characters like Mario and Donkey. Moving on, there is a review section for Hey You Pikachu, praising Pikachu's overwhelming cuteness. It mentions the reviewer eagerly awaiting the release and being captivated by Pikachu's adorable actions, even noting the difficulty in finding the game in stores due to production issues. Finally, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time is reviewed under the heading Zelda is Mystery. The review emphasizes the core gameplay of puzzle solving within dungeons. It describes the experience of tackling difficult puzzles, sometimes getting stuck and frustrated, but ultimately feeling satisfaction when they are solved, even in areas like Jabu Jabu's belly, noting the actions like pushing blocks and exploring complex areas to solve mysteries. Screenshots are included, one from Super Smash Bros. Showcasing character percentages and described as featuring Nintendo Wall-Star characters in action in one-player mode, pointing out the depth of gameplay. Another screenshot from Hey You Pikachu is captioned, A Little Moody Mode. The next page highlights 3 N64 games. Banjo-Kazooie's Great Adventure is discussed, with readers suggesting it may even surpass Mario in terms of enjoyment and unique elements. They mention its distinctive humor and quirky aspects like engines and onions. Choro Q64 is presented as more than just a racing game, emphasizing its collectability and unique charm. Finally, 1080-degree snowboarding is praised for its exhilarating speed and demanding technical gameplay, placing it alongside other immersive N64 experiences like Wave Race 64 and Zelda. The article also mentions that future issues will contain hints and tips for mastering 1080-degree snowboarding. This page is a Q&A section called Tell Me, Endo, where readers ask questions about Nintendo products. One question asks about Nintendo's first home console and games before 1978. The answer explains that Nintendo's first home consoles were the Color TV game series, like Color TV Games 6 and 15, which had built-in games such as tennis, volleyball, and hockey, with controllers directly attached to the console. Another question is about differences in stickers on old Game Boy Tetris cartridges, which is confirmed to be true, also noting the A-type music differences between versions. The page also includes a This Month's Buy This section recommending 3 software titles launching by March 19th. Hamster Paradise is highlighted with a chance to experience a sample ROM. King of Bandit Jing is also recommended, praised for its numerous events, despite slower screen transitions, and deemed worth buying. Lastly, Puzzle Bobble 64 is suggested for 4,800 yen, described as enjoyable and easy to play. This page features an article about game prices in Akihabara, noting that while prices are generally cheaper compared to other regions, this isn't always the case, especially for popular titles like Smash Bros., which might be priced higher due to demand. There's a hardware price list showing costs for various consoles like the Nintendo 64, Game Boy Color, and Dreamcast, alongside an announcement about a PlayStation price drop that happened on January 23rd. The main focus of the page is a Weetrix high score contest. It details the intermediate results, showcasing top players in upper, middle, and beginner categories, including their scores and names. The contest deadline is set for January 31st. Instructions are provided on how to enter the contest by sending in a postcard with details like your high score screenshot, password, personal information, and feedback on Weetrix. The prizes include a Game Boy Color for the top winner in the upper level, and other gifts for the top players in other levels. It mentions that if there are not many entries in the beginner level, the prizes will be given away by lottery among all applicants. This page presents a software title list from 64Dream Club, which is related to the Nintendo Power Rewrite service. It details a wide array of games, specifying memory requirements, SRAM, manufacturers, and prices. The list spans multiple categories and genres, featuring titles from various developers. Below this, there are release calendars for SFC and GB and Game Boy games, listing titles coming out in February, March, April, and May, along with some undated releases. These calendars provide release dates, game genres, manufacturers, and prices, giving a snapshot of upcoming games for these Nintendo platforms. This page is focused on The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. It's showcasing screenshots of various characters and gameplay moments from the game. The central text announces an interview with Shigeru Miyamoto about Ocarina of Time and expresses gratitude for the emotional impact of the game, saying, "Thank you for the emotion/inspiration/excitement." The page also includes a note at the top indicating that the content contains spoilers and is best read after playing the game. Shigeru Miyamoto himself is also pictured within one of the screenshots in the collage. The screenshots feature familiar elements from Ocarina of Time, such as heart containers, item slots, and various in-game characters. This page is a Zelda-long interview with Shigeru Miyamoto. Miyamoto is asked about user feedback for Zelda, and he mentions that as a user himself, he also has expectations. He talks about the development process and mentions the theme of Ocarina of Time. He also discusses the success of the N64 in 1998, noting that the console and game industry overall are doing well and expanding. He believes that the N64's positive momentum might be because other consoles like PlayStation weren't as impressive at the time. The interview seems to touch upon Nintendo's approach to game development, prioritizing user experience and avoiding unnecessary competition, and focuses on creating truly engaging games. There is also a small manga strip at the bottom of the page, unrelated to the interview. This page is discussing The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, with a feature titled, "Young Purple Baron is hooked on the appeal of Zelda." It appears to be an interview or discussion where people are sharing their experiences and thoughts about the game. Screenshots from Ocarina of Time are present, showing Link in various locations like dungeons and Hyrule Field. The interview seems to explore why people are enjoying the game, including aspects like its 3D world, gameplay mechanics, and communication among players about strategies and secrets. One person mentions their wife and child also playing and being captivated by the game. They also discuss the CM strategies and Miyamoto's opinions on the game. The manga panel at the bottom is a humorous section featuring Miyamoto, seemingly related to game development or player feedback. The next page discusses feedback related to Zelda, mentioning impressions of feeling the temperature and feeling the air from players, which were used in PR. It also touches on the desire for more freedom in the game, and some aspects that might have been considered unpolished. The page then moves on to the size and freedom of Hyrule in Zelda. It mentions that some people point out the level of freedom and size in the game, and the general feeling is that bigger is better. The discussion includes Hyrule, as envisioned by Mr. Miyamoto, and specifically mentions the west side of Lake Hylia, the Lost Woods, and Zora's River, in relation to the game's map design, aiming for a more seamless world, and the desire to refine areas like Goron City and the Lost Woods warp system further. Finally, at the bottom, there is a manga section titled, "Actually I Wanted to See with Sheer Cliffs in Hyrule," suggesting a humorous or reflective thought on game world design. The game being discussed is very likely to be The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. This page delves into the world of Zelda dungeon design, focusing on creating a sense of atmosphere and smell within the game environments. The interview with developers discusses how they aim to make dungeons feel immersive and engaging for players, focusing on how players' experiences and perspectives can change within the game. They talk about aiming to create areas where the wind or smell of the dungeon is emphasized, and how they use design to make players feel the environment. They mention the importance of the feel of the dungeon and how it connects to the gameplay and player experience. There's also a section about popular characters, noting Zelda is considered a popular character. It also mentions some characters are seen as difficult or disliked. The page also humorously touches on bugs and issues in development, mentioning situations where players might get stuck or find unexpected outcomes, and the developer's apologetic stance on these. They specifically mention a bug related to Deku trees and spiderwebs and falling. This page discusses the development of The Legend of Zelda, detailing the shift from the 64DD format to a cartridge. It mentions that initially, development began for the 64DD, but it was later changed to a cartridge format due to the limitations of the 64DD, especially concerning RAM and loading times in dungeons. The cartridge version allowed for smoother gameplay within dungeons as data is preloaded into memory. However, the 64DD would have allowed for larger programs and movie data. The article explores what the 64DD version of Zelda might have been like, suggesting it would have focused on dungeon design and events, utilizing the Zelda system. It also addresses the uncertainty surrounding the release of the 64DD version, stating that its future is still undecided as they evaluate the results of their current work and consider release timing. The page also features a small comic strip illustrating the office environment, comparing it to a school staff room. It humorously depicts the work atmosphere and includes Pikachu figures in the scene. This page is showcasing a reader prize giveaway with autographs from Miyamoto, featuring 7 different prizes. These include an ocarina, signed illustrations of Child Link, Adult Link, and King Zora by Chunai, a battle postcard and a Narrow postcard, and a limited edition Ocarina of Time soundtrack CD with an ocarina. The page also includes screenshots of the game The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, featuring characters like Twinrova and Ganondorf, alongside a discussion section where Miyamoto is talking about game development, specifically about dungeon design, and perhaps chickens, in a cartoon panel. The interview section is titled Planning in Progress, and discusses aspects of Ura Zelda, which could refer to the Master Quest, or an early concept related to the game. This magazine excerpt features a Q&A with the developers of The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Answers cover various gameplay aspects, including the maximum fish size, 81 centimeters, and strategies like defeating Dodongo with a single Deku stick. The developers explain the lack of rewards for catching certain golden Skulltulas, and clarify details about the King and Queen Zora relationship. The Marathon Man in Hyrule Market Town is intentionally unbeatable, serving as a challenging rival figure. The lost Kokiri child, Skull Kid, is explained as a Star Kid in the adult timeline. The Great Fairy's design is described as pure and innocent, a fresh concept for the time. Finally, the sounds of the Shimokuzame are humorously interpreted as childlike, suggesting a dreamlike quality, with air holes as the potential source. Screenshots illustrate the game's content. This page covers various aspects of The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. It addresses post-game concerns about the Kokiri Forest and Zora, clarifying their well-being after Link's actions. The use of motion capture for Link's animations is also discussed. Other topics include identifying a running thief, the connection between a forest story and Goron City, and the rarity and marriage customs of the male Gerudo. The success of Lon Lon Ranch and Ingo's desire for Epona are explained. The page also touches on a scene after returning the Kokiri Emerald, hinting at the fate of those lost in the Lost Woods. Finally, the intentionally easier difficulty of the Well Dungeon, designed for item discovery and exploration, is analyzed, along with a comment on the Goron enemy's appearance. Developers of The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time discussed the challenges in creating the game. Character designer Ikeda Jin focused on making characters like Lord Jabu Jabu and King Dodongo feel alive. Dungeon designer Usui Kenta prioritized simple structures for ease of learning. Kawagoe Takumi crafted the title demo using Hyrule Field's landscapes and changing times of day for visual variety. Field object placement by Kimura Shigeo involved careful debugging. Kurokawa Tomoaki dedicated 3 years to realistic fire effects. Koizumi Yoshiaki designed Link with over 500 motion patterns, refining camera and controls through feedback. Ikematsu Shinichi managed complex dungeon designs, like water reflections, and extensive playtesting. Inagaki Yoji handled sound programming. Iwamoto Daiki worked on cinema scenes under ROM constraints. Iwa Toshio prioritized smooth player controls and animation corrections. Osawa Toru worked on the script and natural-sounding sound effects. The developer interview section provides insights into the creation of The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Key members discuss their roles. Koji Kondo composed the game's music, including Epona's song. Mitsuhiro Takano coordinated localization efforts. Hidemaru Fujibayashi focused on seamless world design, while Yasunari Soejima worked on the item menu and controls. Satoru Takizawa designed characters, including Epona and Ganondorf. Hayakawa Kenzo balanced memory, speed, and visuals. Haruna Yoshiki refined character expressions and demo scenes. Kazuaki Morita worked on elements like fishing. Makoto Miyanaga adjusted lighting and shadows. Takeshi Hosono designed dungeons. Naoki Mori directed cinematics and animation, sharing voice acting details. Hiromu Takemura discussed polygon data management. The section ends with a comic strip with developer humor and a focus on the Forest Temple and Deku Tree. This page showcases the Zelda Anything ranking, focusing on favorite characters from the Zelda series, likely for Ocarina of Time on the N64 given the characters featured. Adult Link unsurprisingly takes the top spot as the most popular character, with a significant 679 points, praised as the main hero and very strong. Sheik comes in second place with 462 points, highlighted for being popular amongst female voters. Child Link is third, with 329 points, noted for having the longest Tsukii, or association, perhaps referring to the player's time with the character. The ranking continues with other popular characters in the top 10, including Epona, Sajuria, Malon, Princess Zelda, Ganondorf, Darunia, and Princess Ruto. The page mentions this is a result of a reader survey where they voted for their favorite Zelda things, and the ranking is compiled from those votes. It also mentions that different versions of Link were combined for the ranking, such as adult and child Link votes. This article highlights fan favorites from The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Lon Lon Ranch, with its activities and character interactions, tops the favorite areas list. The Fishing Pond and Kakariko Village also ranked highly. The Forest Temple, lauded for its action and puzzles, leads the favorite dungeons category, followed by the Spirit Temple and Fire Temple. Saria's song, the distinctive Gerudo Valley theme, and Epona's song are the top 3 favorite musical tracks. A brief mention of a 64DD version meeting suggests discussion of the game's Water Temple and Forest Temple. Han-san's N64 question box addresses 2 reader inquiries. The first concerns Space World 99, which has been rescheduled from May to August 27 to 29, and Makuhari Messe, due to Pokemon events. The second question covers the N64's successful year-end sales in America. 5 N64 games ranked in the top 10 game software, including Zelda, Star Wars, Rogue Squadron, and GoldenEye 007, which remained a top seller even a year after release. Annual 1998 sales ranked GoldenEye at number 1, Zelda at number 2, Banjo-Kazooie at number 4, and Mario 64 at number 5. GoldenEye is also highlighted by readers as consistently popular. An N64Dream magazine page details upcoming N64 promotions and games. A March campaign offered a special price for an N64 console and game bundle, potentially without promotion tickets. Confirmed, a sequel to Super Smash Bros. Would be Pokemon Snap, planned for a late March release, alongside Pokemon Stadium 2, Pokemon Gold and Silver, and Star Wars: Rogue Squadron. Pokemon Snap is a photography game where players photograph Pokemon on Pokemon Island from the 01 vehicle, with photos evaluated based on composition and the ability to be printed. Commercials were planned for March. This text details a Q&A about The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. The first question concerns a Zelda news advertisement, which aimed to demonstrate the game's global popularity using models from various countries. The advertisement, with a Benetton-like style, was produced by a Japanese agency and highlighted worldwide sales of 6 million copies, 2 years after the game's Japanese N64 release in June 1996. The second question acknowledges Zelda winning the Digital Art Interactive Grand Prize at the Cultural Affairs Agency Media Arts Festival. The award ceremony, held 2 years prior, garnered positive feedback, including congratulations from Miyamoto. Finally, the Q&A confirms the ongoing operation of the Zelda Dial service, a phone line for Zelda-related questions. The service, staffed by the Mario Club, an organization involved in game evaluation and debugging, is still available, although its usage is declining. This page answers questions from readers. One question is about whether Pokemon League events will be held this year, and the answer confirms they will, from March to April as part of the Pokemon Festival 99 Spring. The events will feature Pokemon Stadium 2, Pokemon Snap, and Pokemon Pinball at 5 locations across Japan, with free admission. Another question asks if Pikachu Genki Daichu, Hey You Pikachu, will be released overseas. The response is that it's undecided, but while the Game Boy Pokemon games are popular in America, localization is a significant task, hinting at a possible future release and showing an image of a Pikachu-themed car in America. A further question is about why the Nintendo 64 is called 64 and not wall in Japanese. The answer explains that Nintendo 64 sounds better than Nintendo Rokuju Yan, and mentions the unification of the sound, and that initially, Nintendo All-Star was considered, referencing Smash Bros. As an example where Nintendo All-Star might have been considered. Lastly, a question is about the development of voice recognition software. The answer confirms Nintendo is developing voice recognition software for games beyond Pokemon, but it could also be used for Pikachu Genki Daichu, and emphasizes the importance of the Pikachu microphone. The page also includes screenshots from games including Super Smash Bros., Mario Kart 64, Yoshi's Story, and Star Fox 64, Lylat Wars. Nintendo's Q&A reveals insights into their decision-making and customer feedback. Software titles are proposed by development members, but the president makes the final decision, considering factors like trademark registration. Nintendo actively seeks user feedback through questionnaires included in-game cartridges, offering incentives and aiming for a 1 to 2 month turnaround for results. They will not release a CM collection video due to contractual limitations with talents and copyright complexities. Although controller sales didn't increase with Mario Party, inquiries about controller repairs, likely due to aggressive stick manipulation, rose. Nintendo advises players to use controllers carefully to avoid damage and potential skin irritation, offering customer service for malfunctions. This Q&A section covers various N64-related topics. Regarding the SFC version of Fire Emblem, the release date is undetermined, but it will likely be a downloadable title initially through Lawson kiosks, possibly followed by a physical release. There are no plans for a Game Boy 10th anniversary campaign, but a Pokemon 3rd anniversary event is planned for February 27, 1999, with commemorative goods. Addressing the loss of sample ROMs, it stated that safeguards are in place to track them. Finally, the section confirms Nintendo has a ski club, which was quite active, along with other clubs like Tea Ceremony and Shogi. This page is a news article announcing that The Legend of Zelda has won the Media Arts Festival Grand Prize. It details that Miyamoto was feeling the weight of expectations, as 1999 was considered Miyamoto's year. The article includes an interview with Miyamoto about receiving the award, discussing his feelings and thoughts on the recognition for The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Also on the page is an announcement for the Nintendo Space World event, scheduled for August 27th to 29th. It mentions that Pokemon-like presents are planned, and that Pokemon Gold and Silver are expected to be playable, with speculation about the release of a Pokemon X version. Finally, there is information about the 3rd annual CES Award nominations, with 54 nominated works. It mentions that voting by CESA members and general public voting is ongoing and will be accepted at the Tokyo Game Show venue until March 20th, 21st, aiming for N64 games to win all categories this year. It references previous year's awards and mentions FFV2 and IQ winning awards the previous year. This page is a Mary Gal urgent report, focusing on the truth behind statements made by Mr. Kanayama. The main topic is about Sakura Taisen, appearing on Game Boy Color, and the potential connection between Dreamcast and Game Boy Color. The article investigates the content based on an interview, questioning if the Dreamcast and Game Boy Color versions of Sakura Taisen will be connected. It mentions that Famitsu magazine also covered Mr. Kayama and Mr. Hamamura's dialogue. The article suggests that Sega's popularity and the Sakura Taisen series for Game Boy Color are key topics. The article also discusses industry trends, mentioning Bandai's handheld game WonderSwan sales and the shift from Sega to Sony in the portable console market, along with Dreamcast, DC, and Neo Geo Pocket connectivity. It also delves into rumors of Sega and Nintendo joining hands against Sony. A side panel titled, "Who is Tetsu Kayama?" describes Mr. Kayama as someone who has worked on the Mary Sigel system and Nintendo's power strategy, known as a prominent figure in the game industry. It notes that while an interview with Mr. Kayama was planned for this article, schedule adjustments prevented it from being fully realized. He is described as someone with a strong impact, who speaks unforgettable words. The page also includes a screenshot of a Famitsu magazine cover featuring Final Fantasy V 2i and Sega. This page features previews of 3 upcoming Nintendo 64 games. First is Custom Robo, tentative title, from Marigold Management. It's described as an action game where players customize robots and engage in battles. The game will be playable at the 6th Moon World Hobby Fair and Nintendo Space World events. NODS, the company known for arcade games, is developing it, emphasizing action and customization. Next is Giant Dodon, tentative title, by Param, showcased at the Milia 99 exhibition. This game focuses on the massive scale of a giant and the resulting destruction on an island setting. It's still early in development for the 64DD, with development progressing smoothly towards a March completion target. The page also highlights a voice recognition system being used in 3 N64 titles. One is TEO, tentative title, Toy Racing, codename, a toy and racing game where players can use voice commands to control a radio-controlled car. Hey You Pikachu is also mentioned as utilizing this voice recognition system. Another title named is Rikichan to Asobo, Let's Play with Rikichan, which also uses this system and features a popular girl character. Finally, there's a preview of Animal Leader, tentative title, by Sarubarune, with scenario and character design by staff from Jungle Park and Parappa the Rapper. This game involves controlling animals and is described as having potentially violent content aimed at children, and it will be featured at the World Hobby Fair. This page highlights upcoming software from Marigold and Nintendo Power. It introduces the 64GB cable, which allows the Game Boy to be used as an N64 controller and display game information on the Game Boy screen. A game using this technology is previewed called DT, codename 64GB de Vista, a card game project led by a developer called Endosan. The page mentions E-Code Delta, development code, a game being produced by Hirabayashi Kazuhito and developed by Clever Trick, describing it as a noisy game. It also previews new Nintendo Power titles, including Tamagotchi Town, provisional, and Oikaki Logic, provisional. The final section, Marigold's strategy battle is just beginning, discusses the future, noting that collaborations between Nintendo and Sega might not be impossible, and invites opinions to the N64 forum. It makes reference to famous movie-like games, such as U-Boat and Undersea Battleship. This page reports on various news and events. Firstly, Hitachi is using Pokémon to promote their sales, with Pokémon home appliances being released in April, featuring characters like Pikachu, and potentially including items such as a Pokémon microwave oven and a Pokémon rice cooker. Next, the 64Dream team won the Fantasy Cup Imagina Team competition, with a score of 21. Team members included Endo, Dodor, Fukamibana, and Holmes Ando. The 9th Next Generation World Hobby Fair was held across Osaka Dome, Fukuoka Dome, and Makuhari Messe, proving very popular with children and featuring crowded booths, especially for Pokémon and Mini 4WD, with even Link from Zelda making an appearance. The soundtrack for Banjo-Kazooie's Great Adventure, known internationally as Banjo-Kazooie, is being released on CD on February 17th and comes with an original jigsaw puzzle. In other news, the Tiku Tiku Angel Pedometer, a big hit since December 1997, is getting a slimmed-down redesign with a wider screen and more character options. There is also a report about Mario-themed buses currently running in the Kansai region, spotted by a reader near Kyoto Station Hachijo exit. Finally, Puzzle Bobble 64, known internationally as Bust-A-Move 64, is the recommended game this month, praised as an easy-to-play puzzle game with comical characters and multiplayer for up to 4 players, featuring collection and edit modes. The page also announces the winners of a Zelda CD prize draw. This page is introducing the 64Dream website, highlighting it as a space for reader interaction and information exchange outside of the magazine itself. The website address is provided as www.pc.mycom.co.jp/64dream, and it includes a reader's voice forum. The page also features an Endo Collections Product of the Month, showcasing the Family Basic Dedicated Data Recorder. This device was for saving programs created using Family BASIC on the Famicom, acting like a data recorder. Initially priced at 14,800 yen, when released in 1984 for Famicom peripherals, its price later dropped to 9,800 yen. There's a manga section titled Link's Tiny Tiny Great Adventure, temporary title, starring Link and Zelda characters. In the cartoon, Link is gliding with a Kuko, and Zelda is asking him to catch the Kuko and mentions she cannot find Yumi. Finally, the page has a tea-break puzzle section, which is Watari's puzzle, and is a Zelda-themed crossword puzzle where you need to find Zelda-related words. One of the clues in the puzzle is, Link is my fiancé, haha. This page focuses on strategies for Super Smash Bros., known in Japan as Dairanto Smash Brothers. The headline states, contrary to appearances, conquer the super difficult Smash Bros. Battles, indicating a guide to mastering the game. The page is divided into sections tackling annoying enemies. One section provides tips on defeating the arch-rival Mario Brothers on very hard difficulty, suggesting to defeat the brother first and then carefully take on the other. Another section deals with the annoying early-stage enemy Giant Donkey, also on very hard difficulty, advising to use Yoshi's egg throw for preemptive attacks and dealing damage before Donkey Kong gets close, then using a grab-and-throw combo as a follow-up. There are also pro tips in boxes labeled Kokotoba, giving further advice for each battle. For the Mario Brothers fight, the tip is to defeat the brother first and then take your time with the remaining one. For Giant Donkey, the advice is that it's beneficial if the other 2 teammates can chip away at his health. The page also mentions that the methods to unlock the 4 hidden characters can be found on page 128 of Doriteku no Dendo. The game info box lists the title as Nintendo All-Star Dairanto Smash Brothers, categorizes it as a fighting action game, and states a release date of January 21st, supporting 1 to 4 players, priced at 5,800 yen, and being compatible with the controller pack. The next page is a strategy guide focused on bonus games in what is clearly Super Smash Bros. On the N64. It's titled, Attack! Bonus 1 and 2. Conquer the bonus games. The page highlights 2 types of bonus games, Break the Target and Board the Platform, offering tips for different characters. For Break the Target, using Link, the guide advises using stick-controlled smash attacks to break targets. For Yoshi, egg throwing is key, especially controlling the downward trajectory of the last 2 eggs, and using jump throws. With Kirby, the stone ability is recommended to bypass obstacles, followed by a final cutter after a jump. Moving on to Board the Platform, for Samus, the guide points out a tricky platform on the top right, suggesting facing away, using a charge shot, and then Z-jumping to reach it. For Kirby, it's mentioned that just jumping might not be enough. Instead, floating and then using Final Cutter from the peak float will work. Lastly, for Fox, the guide notes that even he might struggle to reach platforms, but by using a punch and then floating, you can achieve a further jump. The overall message is to practice these techniques to master these bonus games. This page is dedicated to Harvest Moon 64, offering tips and strategies for different playstyles within the game. It outlines 4 distinct approaches to farm management. The first style, for the perfectionist, emphasizes achieving a flawless farm by working tirelessly and maximizing efficiency. It suggests aiming for perfect item collection and recipe completion, implying a very dedicated playthrough. The second style, particular, focuses on creating a unique farm with personal touches. It highlights the enjoyment of designing fields with specific crops, naming animals creatively, and experimenting with different farm layouts, suggesting a more artistic and personalized approach. The third style, for the free person, promotes relaxed and spontaneous gameplay, suggesting players do whatever they feel like doing without rigid plans. Examples include horse racing, dog races, and gift-giving to girls, indicating a more casual and fun-oriented style. The final style, Love Abundant, is about showering animals with affection, emphasizing care and interaction with farm animals, and aiming for a happy and loving farm environment. It mentions raising affection with animals and girls, hinting at relationship aspects of the game, and enjoying a heartwarming farm life. Screenshots showcase gameplay including interior scenes of the house, inventory management, and outdoor crop fields, visually representing different aspects of Harvest Moon 64 gameplay. This page focuses on Harvest Moon 64, showcasing different approaches to farm creation within the game. First, there's a section about the Wada producer's farm, emphasizing the producer's commitment to the core essence of farming and animal care, highlighting this as a point of pride in the game's design, and appealing to players who enjoy deep gameplay. Next, we see Paken Masa Saito's farm. Described as belonging to a guitar-playing advertising personality, his farm is portrayed as imaginative and freely created, comparing farm design to painting on a canvas, encouraging players to embrace creativity. Then, there's the 64Dream representative Mickey's farm. Presented as the farm of a dedicated Harvest Moon player since the Super Famicom days, who is aiming for the perfect farm in Harvest Moon 64, the screenshot provided is from their second year in the game, hinting at the long-term dedication needed to build a perfect farm. Finally, the page announces a contest titled, "Send Us Your Proud Farm," inviting players to submit their saved farm data from Harvest Moon 64 by sending their controller packs to the 64Dream editorial department. The contest involves editorial selection, magazine features, and reader voting, with prizes for the best farms. It clearly instructs players to send only controller packs, and not the game cartridges, for submissions. The next page showcases Snowboard Kids, a winter action racing game for the Nintendo 64. The page promotes it as a fun snowboard game with various stages and gameplay elements. It introduces three main stages: Wendy House, described as a small house with household items as obstacles; Linda Castle, set in a wealthy castle area with timing-based jumps; and Kuru Kuru Jungle, a jungle stage with large ponds and crocodiles. The page also highlights skill games, including Speed Cross, a fast-paced race; Shoot Cross, involving shooting targets while snowboarding; and Trick Cross, focusing on performing tricks to earn points. Finally, it details the boss stage in Kuru Kuru Jungle, a match race against a dinosaur where players must learn the course to win, and warns about eggs appearing on the course, which will cause players to fall if they hit them. Game details mention the title as Chosnobo Kids, developer as Atlas, release date February 19th, price 6,800 yen, genre as action race game for 14 players, requiring 128 MB memory and compatible with vibration packs. This page is from Capcom Fan Club, featuring user-submitted content full of love for Capcom games. It starts with an introduction talking about Mate Chair being fun and exciting for competitive play and anticipation for future Capcom games. It mentions a 64 GB cable plan being in progress with Gundam director Tomino involved with Capcom staff. In the User Voices section, fans have sent in drawings and comments. One fan expresses excitement for the next Biohazard, Resident Evil, while another praises Rockman, Mega Man. There's also a Capcom news section highlighting Capcom's website, a gallery of past works, and their address. The Chiki Chiki Hagaki ranking reveals the top games based on postcard votes, with Biohazard, Resident Evil, at number 1, followed by Star Fox 64, and the Vampire, Darkstalkers series. There's also an announcement of winners for the Okamoto-san Signature Goods Lottery, with prizes like a Biohazard t-shirt and soundtrack. The N64 version Biothought section shares user opinions on the N64 Biohazard, Resident Evil 2, port. A user feels the N64 Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Biohazard are exceptional and revitalize the market, noting the N64 Biohazard is very impressive. Finally, 2 user comments express desires for sequels. One fan wants a new Final Fight game starring Hagar, and another eagerly anticipates a sequel to Rockman Dash, Mega Man Legends, mentioning their sister works as an assistant and drew the package art for Rockman and Forte,
Mega Man and Bass.
This page is all about the Game Boy Color game, Pokemon Pinball. It's described as a fun pinball game where you collect Pokemon. The article explains that you play using 2 flippers to hit the monster ball, and by hitting panels in the center of the pinball table, you can collect up to 150 different Pokemon. The game is unique as it uses a vibration cartridge so you can feel the action. It mentions Pikachu appears in the pinball game too. The page highlights this as the world's first vibration cartridge game, saying it adds to the fun and immersion when playing on your Game Boy. It also shows images of the orange Pokemon pinball cartridge and a Game Boy Color with the game in action, emphasizing the vibration effect visually. This page features previews of 2 upcoming Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. The first is Beat Mania GB, a DJ simulation game scheduled for release on March 11th for 4,300 yen. This portable version of the popular arcade game boasts 20 songs, including original tracks and arcade favorites.
It features DJ battles and 3 different control styles.
Players can also connect with friends using a communication cable for versus play, and to test their DJ skills against each other. The second game is Koshien Pocket, a high school baseball simulation game set to launch on March 12th for 3,980 yen. In this game, players aim to lead their chosen high school to victory at Koshien, the famous baseball stadium. With over 4,000 high schools available in the game, you can become the baseball team's manager, oversee training, and compete in matches. The game also features red-infrared communication, allowing for player trading and versus play with friends, and also supports communication cables for battles. This page features 4 Game Boy Color titles. First is Kui, a monster training simulation game where you raise cute creatures to become the strongest in the galaxy and battle using infrared communication. It's described as the first infrared communication battle mode game and emphasizes colorful graphics and strategic training. Next is Pachisuro New Pulsar Edition, a Pachisuro simulation game that replicates the popular New Pulsar machine. It includes features like iStop marker function, autoplay, and a story mode, aiming to provide an authentic Pachisuro experience for pros and beginners. Hello Kitty's Magical Musical Museum is a puzzle game where you guide Hello Kitty to the goal. Clearing stages reveals pictures that form a Hello Kitty museum showcasing her history from 1974. You can even print stickers of these pictures using a pocket printer.
Finally, Hamburger Pocket is a board game where you become a hamburger chain owner. The goal is to build stores, create original burgers, and become the #1 chain. The game focuses on strategic shop placement, ingredient combinations to create delicious burgers, and aims for the highest earnings to win. This page previews 4 Game Boy games. For the Game Boy Color, Takara's life game Lots of Friends is a board game adaptation where players experience life from infancy to becoming a billionaire, featuring character creation and fortune-telling elements. Chaleco's J-Wing Dinosaur Breeder 3, Gaia Revival, lets players breed, care for, and battle dinosaurs, emphasizing a DNA system for creating new species. For the original Game Boy, Atlas is releasing Goddess Metempsychosis, Last Bible, a color-enhanced RPG with battle adjustments and improved visuals, and its sequel, Goddess Metempsychosis, Last Bible 2, which features a real-time demon conversation system and demon befriending mechanics. Both Last Bible titles are classic RPGs, with top-down views and strategic combat. This page previews 2 Game Boy Color games. The first game featured is King of Bandit Jing, J.I. Ingi, an RPG set for release on March 12th. It's described as an event-filled RPG, where the legendary bandit Jing and his strong partner Kier explore the Aqua Vitae Sea in search of hidden treasures. The gameplay seems to involve navigating various locations and engaging in battles, with a trinity system for strategic combat. You can also steal money and skills from enemies. Communication dungeons are also highlighted for 2-player cooperative play. The second game is Monster Tamer 2, also set for release on March 12th. This is a racing RPG where you train monsters for races. This sequel features 92 new monsters, bringing the total to over 200, with 35 different racetracks, including new terrains like dirt pipes and flying stage. The game emphasizes using monster characteristics and timing in races. You can also capture wild monsters after races, and mix 2 monsters to create new ones, inheriting skills from the original monsters. The page also mentions communication battles, where players can race their monsters against each other. This page showcases a variety of Game Boy Color titles. First up is Pro Mahjong Kiwami GB, a mahjong game promising deep gameplay for everyone from beginners to experts. It boasts various game modes including 10-match games, title matches, and practice modes. A unique feature allows players to save a memorable one-round replay. Next we see Top Gear Pocket, a racing game with a vibration function. This feature enhances the sense of speed and impact when drifting or crashing, making the gameplay more immersive and feel like you are driving through American landscapes. Following that is SD Hiryu no Ken Gaiden EX, an action game featuring characters from the Flying Dragon fighting game series in super deformed style. It features a roster of 19 characters, including new additions, and supports link cable battles for multiplayer fun. Another mahjong title featured is Pro Mahjong Hey JGB, which allows players to compete against 16 famous professional mahjong players. The game aims to recreate not just their names, but also their unique playing styles and strengths. The page highlights a selection of these pro players, including Hiroshi Shimoyama, Hiroka Watanabe, and others. Finally, Kato Hifumi 9 Dan's Shogi Classroom is a shogi learning game designed to improve your shogi skills. It offers 123 shogi problems and next move challenges, accompanied by commentary from renowned 9 Dan shogi player Hifumi Kato, making it ideal for shogi beginners. This page showcases fan art submissions in a section titled Illustration Special Hall of Fame. The page opens with a small editorial piece about the writer's father's birthday being on March 3rd, the Doll Festival, jokingly clarifying he isn't a girl because of it. The fan art section features various game-inspired illustrations. One depicts Pokemon characters in Masara Town, with a comment about Princess Ruto from Zelda getting water Pokemon. Another Zelda-themed piece shows Link and a girl in green, using Charmander's tail for light. A darker piece portrays a gruesome Mario and Luigi, inspired by the opening of Super Smash Bros. There is also a Castlevania-inspired artwork referencing Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness, with the artist expressing their longtime love for the series. An Evangelion illustration points to the upcoming N64 Evangelion game, and the lack of new information, suggesting news might come after a game show. Several more Zelda-themed artworks appear, including one of Link looking over a grassy field, and another with a more unusual, almost creepy, depiction of a Zelda character. Lastly, there's a picture of Zelda and Link on horseback, with a humorous caption implying Ganondorf now enjoys a peaceful life after being defeated, perhaps asking, "Won't you ride in my Porsche?" Overall, the page is a celebration of fan art, inspired by popular Nintendo 64 games, especially Zelda and Pokemon. This page is showcasing a fan art section titled, Go For It! Mario Old Man Support Team! And the theme for this time is Heroine. The page features fan-submitted illustrations of heroines from various games. One artwork depicts a character from The Legend of Zelda, with a comment comparing her to heroines like those in Dracula X, Rondo of Blood, Castlevania. Another illustration is of Misty from Pokemon, described as the self-proclaimed beautiful girl, Kasumi-chan. There's also fan art for the N64 game Get Her Love, a new heroine title, and a drawing featuring both Princess Peach and Zelda together, celebrating them as eternal heroines of the game world and expressing a wish for a female version of Super Smash Bros. Samus Aran from Metroid is also featured as a heroine, and there's an illustration inspired by Mother 2. Another artwork depicts a character from Wonder Project J2 Cooking, described as a pure heroine. Below these illustrations are sections for fan letters and artwork from younger fans under 10 years old, which prominently feature characters from The Legend of Zelda. This page features fan art, primarily focusing on Nintendo 64 games. The illustrations showcase a variety of characters, including those from Zelda, Link, Zelda, Sheik, Ganondorf, Stalfos, Kirby, Mario, Peach, Toad, Mario, Luigi, and Pokemon, Pikachu. Other featured works include characters from Evangelion, Rei Ayanami, a Gundam robot, and characters from the Mother, Earthbound series. Themes include FE, Secret, Dreams of Grand Scenes, and musical instruments. The artist corrects a previous name error and adds humorous comments on some of the drawings. This magazine page highlights reader submissions in two sections: 4 panel comics and illustrations. Comics include horror, Mario-themed humor, a Star Fox gag, and an identity-based Link parody. The illustration section, themed edgy/cool forms, features a dramatic Bowser and Peach piece, a Miyamoto-esque character, a grotesque monster, and a Goron housewife illustration. The page also announces rank promotion winners,
using military ranks. It provides instructions for submitting illustrations to the character's corner and fan letters, including size, color, and contact information, along with a submission deadline and address to the 64Dream editorial department in Tokyo. This page is dedicated to Smash Bros., which is known internationally as Super Smash Bros. On the N64, showcasing the Hall of Fame Dream technique. The page focuses on revealing the methods to unlock the 4 hidden characters in the game. It details the conditions to unlock Luigi, Ness, Captain Falcon, and Jigglypuff. Purin. To unlock Luigi, you must clear the single-player mode with all 8 initial characters and then defeat Luigi in a challenge match. For Ness, you need to complete the single-player mode on normal difficulty or higher, with a stock count of 3 or less, and without using continues, then win against Ness in a challenge match. Captain Falcon is unlocked by completing the single-player mode within 20 minutes on normal or harder, and then defeating him in a challenge match. Finally, Jigglypuff, Purin, is unlocked by completing the single-player mode once and defeating Jigglypuff in a challenge match. The page also features a table listing special moves for each of these unlockable characters, including button combinations and move names. Screenshots of gameplay and the challenger approaching screen are also shown. This page, Dream Technique, uncovers hidden secrets and gameplay details for Nintendo 64 games. For Super Smash Bros., it details how to unlock the Mushroom Kingdom stage by completing 1P mode and all battle stages, and also highlights a humorous demo screen scene where Mario repeatedly hits Luigi. Regarding GoldenEye 007, a trick allows players to shoot during the demo after completing a stage by changing controller settings and pressing Z. The page also features a Dream Hall of Fame, acknowledging players who submit game techniques. Furthermore, it calls for submissions, offering prizes like toy vouchers, N64 games, and certificates for discovered techniques sent via postcard, with game information and personal details. This N64 software catalog previews upcoming games across various genres. Role-playing games include Mother 3 with Zelda, Ocarina of Time-like graphics and a musical focus, Super Mario RPG 2, Para Para Mario, Eltiel and Zool, Legend of the Beastmaster, both by Imagineer, Hybrid Heaven, a strategic high-tech game by Konami, and Robopon 64, a robot battling game with Game Boy connectivity. Action game previews feature Donkey Kong 64, a complete 3D reimagining, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Conker's Quest, a treasure hunting adventure with single and multiplayer modes, and Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, developed by a separate team. The catalog uses a key to categorize the games. Despite the cold weather, the magazine promises a wealth of exciting N64 game information. The N64 software catalog features several upcoming titles. Nintendo is developing Super Mario 64 2, tentative, experimenting with Luigi, and Zelda no Densetsu DD, tentative, Link to Zelda, Ocarina of Time and the 64DD. Koei's unreleased gun action game, Winback, is expected in spring. Konami's Akumaju Dracula Mokushiroku, Castlevania 64, Legacy of Darkness, releases March 11, 1999. Kitus has an unreleased Superman game based on the movie. Hudson's Baku Bomberman 2, Bomberman Hero, is delayed for spring. Shinseki Evangelion, Neon Genesis Evangelion, from Bandai and Gainax, is planned for spring, with little information. Ubisoft's Tonic Trouble is delayed for 1999. Last Legion UX from Hudson is set for May 1999. And Hiryu no Ken S Twin, Flying Dragon Twin, from Culture Brain is planned for 1999. 64, Uzumu 2, 64 Grand Sumo 2, by Bottom Up, will release on March 18, 1999. Shadowgate 64 from Kemco is set for release on April 28, 1999. Several N64 games are on the horizon. Hudson's Case Files of Young Kindaichi is an adventure game, while Nintendo offers SimCity 64 and Cabbage, a creature-raising sim. Konami has Silent Summer Story and GQG 1 Stable, a horse racing game with Game Boy connectivity. Ogre Battle 3, Person of Lordly Caliber, a simulation RPG by Quest, expands the series with large battles. Super Dimension Fortress Macross, another dimension from Tolme, has an uncertain status. 64 Wars by Hudson is a strategy game similar to Famicom Wars,
featuring Game Boy Link functionality. Bandai's PD Ultraman Battle Collection 64 allows battles with Ultraman characters in 3Ds, including data import from Game Boy games. Video System is developing a flight simulator. One Guy Monster, a monster raising game from Otome Up, is set for April 9, 1999. Taito's Puzzle Bobble 64 will bring the puzzle series to the N64 on March 5, 1999. This page is a new soft catalog showcasing upcoming N64 games. Featured titles include Ojiru Maru Challenge Puzzle 64, a puzzle game based on an NHK anime where you roll cubes. There's also Star Wars Rogue Squadron, tentative title, a shooting game set during Episode 1 where you play as Luke Skywalker in Rogue Squadron. Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, tentative title, is highlighted as a well-received 3D shooter with improved graphics and 4-player battles. Baseball games include Super Space Niter Pro Baseball King 2 with enhanced modes, and Ultra Baseball Jitsume version 9964 featuring special moves from older games. Golf games are represented by Mario Golf, tentative title, promising 6 courses and connectivity with a Game Boy version, and Golf, tentative title, a realistic golf game with large characters in development for a long time. GameCube Powerful Pro Baseball 6 is a baseball game with a deep university mode and a new pennant mode where players develop throughout the season. Basketball fans can look forward to NBA in the Zone 2, even with Jordan retired. Hockey is covered by NHL Blades of Steel, promising fast-paced action. Lastly, there's Super Bowling, with varied game modes and lanes, and Professional Guidance Mahjong Pro, a mahjong game with guidance from pros and featuring attractive female players. Several upcoming N64 games are previewed. The Game of Life 64 brings the board game to the console. Extreme G2, a motorbike racer, lacks a publisher. Top Gear Overdrive promises a thrilling runaway experience. Rev Limit faces potential delays. Wipeout 64 is a fast-paced anti-gravity racer, and FZEROXDD offers a course editor. Real Patch's low winning strategy method faces potential cancellation. Pokemon Snap is confirmed, letting players photograph Pokemon. The Mario Artist series for the 64DD is also detailed. Picture Maker is painting software. Polygon Maker creates 3D models. Talent Maker allows character creation using video and images. Sound Maker is music creation software, with data compatibility across the series. This page showcases highly anticipated N64 games expected to be released in Japan. First up is Pokemon Stadium 2, tentative title, which is anticipated to be a complete edition, allowing use of all 151 Pokemon, designed with consideration for players of the previous game. Then there's Animal Leader, tentative title, from the creators of Jungle Park and Parappa Rapper, with a video reveal expected soon to showcase the game's leader character. Giant Dodson, tentative title, is also previewed, focusing on the evolving nature of giants and development nearing completion. The page then highlights games from Rare, starting with Perfect Dark, which uses the GoldenEye engine and is set in 2023, featuring an intelligence agent uncovering an alien conspiracy. Jet Force Gemini is introduced as a funky space shooter set in the Milky Way, with a unique zapping system affecting gameplay and a summer overseas release planned. Banjo-Tooie, the sequel to Banjo-Kazooie, is highly anticipated and expected to surpass even Mario 64. 12 Tales. Conquer 64, Conquer's Quest, while announced for Japanese release some time ago, has limited information available in Japan, while overseas sources indicate advanced development. Donkey Kong 64, Ultra Donkey Kong, was planned for E3, but was delayed for a 1998 release, and is currently in advanced development. Lastly, Star Wars Episode 1 is mentioned as the latest Star Wars game, following Rogue Squadron, and focused on racing. The page also features a profile on Rare, the UK-based developer behind many Nintendo hits, mentioning their website. This page is a Reader Prize giveaway page from 64Dream. There are various prizes being offered, including a Nintendo 64 console, a gold N64 console, and Nintendo 64 controllers. They even mention you need 4 controllers for multiplayer. A Game Boy Color is also up for grabs. For music fans, there are CDs of The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time Hyrule Symphony, and F-Zero X Guitar Arrange Edition. Other prizes include a signed autograph from Takeo Takekuma, an SG League t-shirt likely related to Super Bomberman,
a Ganbare Goemon soundtrack CD set, Pokemon-themed prizes like a watch and keychain holders, and cleaning kits for Game Boy, Super Famicom, and N64 cartridges. They are also giving away hand sanitizing gel. To enter, you need to send in an application card with your desired prize number. The closing date for entries is March 19, 1999, and winners will be announced in the June issue of 64Dream. This magazine reader survey gathers feedback on the current issue, focusing on article and cover ratings and favorite/least favorite picks. Readers are prompted to recommend up to 3 N64 games, rating them out of 10, and to identify their most wanted Nintendo item. The survey references a variety of magazine features and articles, plus games like Fighter's Destiny, Pokemon Snap, and Star Wars: Rogue Squadron. It also lists games of interest, including Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, Donkey Kong 64, and Conker's Quest. The survey also includes a reader's nostalgic recollection of Game Boy experiences and mentions prize winners from a previous issue. This page is the cover page for the May issue of the magazine, scheduled for release on March 20th, Saturday, at a price of 490 yen. The next menu section previews upcoming content, featuring Power Pro 6, likely referring to JIKU Powerful Pro Yakyu 6, Pokemon Snap, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and Fire Emblem. The page includes sections titled Editor's Voice and Staff, and features cartoon artwork of characters from the Mario series. At the bottom there are glimpses of game covers, one featuring Zelda, and another for Ogre Battle 3. This page is an advertisement for Banjo-Kazooie on the Nintendo 64, highlighting it as a new hero and heroine creation from Rare, the developers behind Super Donkey Kong. It introduces Banjo, the bear who cares for his sister, and Kazooie, the impatient bird, emphasizing the game's powerful and unique actions that are easy to perform. The advert mentions that besides action, the game also includes puzzle-like elements requiring players to use their brains. It recommends the game for fans of action games. The game is listed as a 3D action game for one player, compatible with the Rumble Pack, and features a backup save function. The suggested retail price is 6,800 yen, excluding tax. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game Cho Sugoi Kids, which translates to Super Awesome Kids. The game is highlighted with the tagline, "This time, it's super amazing kids." Screenshots show gameplay with cartoonish characters racing in 3D environments. Kids. Key features mentioned include new shot-type items, a variety of courses, and a story mode with giant bosses. The game is described as an action racing game for 1 to 4 players, compatible with the Rumble Pack, and has a suggested retail price of 6,800 yen. The page also lists contact details for Atlas and their website address.